Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. Am I audible and visible? Hello. Hi, Sanjeev. Good afternoon. Let some more people join and I'll begin. Am I audible and visible? All of you? Am I audible and visible? Okay, good. So before the lunch break, I finished with Mauryan Empire. Now let us go to the next chapter, the post-Maurya period. A period of 500 years, 2nd century BC to 3rd century AD. Now, let me give you an overview of this particular topic, very interesting topic. At the same time, it is factual in nature. Wherever it has to be analyzed, whatever things have to be told specifically, definitely I'll tell that and I'll elaborate. But otherwise, to a large extent, it is factual in nature. So let us talk about the post-Maurya period. All of you people, you're able to hear me? Gunjan, Sanjeev, Gautam, Pathan, Suman, Hemalata, Panyala. Okay. Now let me give you a overview or a bird's eye view of post-Mauryan period. Post-Maurya period, a period of 500 years, 200 BC to 300 AD. 200 BC to 300 AD. Okay. Thank you, Sanjeev. So let's understand this topic. Very easy, interesting. Let's say this is India. I told you don't take my map seriously. Okay. Now, who are the indigenous successors of the Mauryas? So what all happened during this period? Let's talk about it. We have the Sungas. We have the Sungas succeeding the Mauryas. Sungas. So Pushyamitra Sunga, the commander-in-chief of the last Mauryan ruler, Brihadratha, killed his master Brihadratha and established the Sunga dynasty. So Sunga succeeded the Mauryas, and then after the Sungas, we have the Kanvas succeeding the Sungas, another dynasty called the Kanvas. So Sungas and Kanvas ruled over central India. We have to study the important Sunga rulers, important Kanva rulers, what was their capital, their achievements, highlights of their period, etc. Then down south, we have the Shatavahanas. The Shatavahanas. The Shatavahanas were the successors of the Mauryas in the south. They were feudatories of the Mauryas. The Shatavahanas, they were working under them as feudatories. But once the Mauryan Empire declined and disintegrated, the Shatavahanas proclaimed themselves independent. So we study about the Shatavahanas, who are sometimes also called the Andhras. So we study about Shungas, Kanvas, and Shatavahanas. Then here in the deep south, we have the three Tamil kingdoms. We have to study about the three Tamil kingdoms: the Cholas, the Pandyas, and the Cheras. And we come to know about these three Tamil kingdoms through a literature, known as Sangam literature. Sangam literature. So we study about these three Tamil kingdoms, Cholas, Cheras, Pandyas, capitals of these dynasties, highlights of their rule, important rulers. What is Sangam literature? What is Sangam, first of all those things we'll discuss. And then, of course, one more thing, I'll be discussing also what is called megalithic culture. Megalithic culture. So what is this megalithic culture, which was confined to mostly South India? What is this megalithic culture? We'll talk about it. So Sungas, Kadmas, Shatavahanas, the three Tamil kingdoms, which we come to know through the Sangam literature, something called megalithic culture. And then this was the period when we have some foreign dynasties entering into India, foreigners entering into India and establishing kingdoms. So we have the Bactrian Greeks, or also called the Indo-Greeks. Then we have the Scythians, also called the Shakas. Then we have the Parthians who came next into India, and then the Kushanas. That is the order in which they came. The Bactrians, okay, they came like this. The Bactrians, the Scythians or the Shakas, the Parthians were the third to come, and the fourth were the Kushanas. So the coming of these foreign tribes, coincided with the construction of the Great Wall of China. So this is China here, this is China, and a huge wall was constructed here in China. It became very difficult for Central Asian tribes to enter into China. Now that wall is called the Great Wall of China. So once this wall was constructed, it became very difficult for Central Asian tribes to enter into China and engage in loot, plunder, and rapine. So from ancient times, they had been doing that. But once this wall was completed around 220 BC, this wall was completed by a person called Shi Huangdi. He was a Chinese emperor, Shi Huangdi. So he completed this wall. Once this wall was completed, it was difficult for the Central Asian tribes to enter into China. So the coming of these foreign tribes into India coincided with the completion of the Great Wall of China. So instead of going to China, they came here, these foreigners, and having come here, they influenced our culture and history. So let us look at the various ways through which these people, these foreign tribes, influenced our history and culture. They established kingdoms. So we'll be studying about the important foreign dynasties, the foreign tribes, the capital of these kingdoms, important kings of each of these dynasties, etc., and the highlights of their rule. Right? Till now, are you clear? Whatever I've done? Post-Maurya period, I'm giving an overview of post-Maurya period. Okay, please raise your hand so that I know that I'm audible, I'm visible, you're absorbing whatever I'm telling you. So please raise your hands. Thank you. Jia, Kula. Okay, so again I repeat, Sungas, Kanvas succeeded the Mauryas in North India. The Shatavahanas succeeded the Mauryas in South India. We'll be talking about each of these dynasties. We'll be talking about the Tamil kingdoms, the Cholas, Cheras, Pandyas, through what is known as Sangam literature and the Sangam age. So we'll talk about that. Megalithic culture. I'll be talking about megalithic culture. What is this megalithic culture? We have done Paleolithic culture, Mesolithic culture, Neolithic culture, Chalcolithic culture in the Stone Age chapter. What is this megalithic culture? We'll talk about it. And then, of course, foreign tribes coming into India, like the Bactrian Greeks or the Indo-Greeks, the Shakas or Scythians, the Parthians, and the Kushanas. Now, this period, the post-Maurya period, is called the Mercantile Age of India. But then please understand, classical historians of yesteryears used to call this period as Dark Age. They used to call it as a Dark Age. Why it was called a Dark Age? Because you have political fragmentation of India. Mauryas, if you remember, ruled almost the whole of India. From parts of Afghanistan to the river Kaveri, they ruled a huge empire under one political authority. But then after the Mauryas declined, we have the political fragmentation of India, small kingdoms coming into existence, and many of these kingdoms were ruled by foreigners. Therefore, classical historians called this period as the Dark Age. But then modern historians have revised the name and they call it as the Mercantile Age of India. They call this period as the Mercantile Age of India. mercantile age of India. India had flourishing trade with a number of parts of the world. This was the period when the monsoon mechanism was discovered. Monsoon, as you know, is a seasonal wind. It blows towards India in a particular season, and it brings huge amount of rain to this country. So once this mechanism was discovered during this period by the Egyptian Greek sailor called Hippalus. So his name was Hippalus. Around 46 AD, Hippalus, Egyptian Greek sailor, he noticed that winds favorably blow towards India and they bring huge amount of rain to this country. So once Hippalus discovered this, you have ships sailing to India during the monsoon season. Of course, it was raining heavily, but then it was easy for them to sail because the wind is blowing favorably towards India. They just have to adjust their sails of their ship. The wind gets trapped in those sails and it will push the ship towards India. They just have to maneuver the ship and then come and dock themselves here. And many foreigners from various parts of the world, from West Asia, West Africa, Roman Empire, Persia, then via the Bay of Bengal, Southeast Asian countries like Indonesia, Malaysia, Burma, China, Sri Lanka. So ships from various parts of the world began to come to India during the monsoon season during this period, in the post-Maurya period. And they came for what? They came for spices. They came for spices. They came for cotton textiles. India was famous for spices and cotton textiles. So they came to procure spices. They came to procure cotton textiles, right? And India was exporting more. India was exporting more than she was importing. So India had a favorable balance of trade. More money was coming into the treasury. More money was coming into the country. So India was exporting more than she was importing. So we need to understand what are the various countries with which India traded during this period. What are the important items of export and import, and important ports on the west coast and the east coast of India. So important ports on the west and the east coast of India. So we'll come to that. We'll talk about those things. This is the highlights of this period, post-Maurya period. Of course, we have three schools of art which came into existence during this period. Three schools of art. We have the Gandhara School of Art, Gandhara School of Art, Gandhara Art, which developed during this period in the northwest portions of India. The Mathura School of Art developed in central India, the Mathura art, and the Amaravati School of Art. Amaravati School of Art developed in South India under the Shatavahanas. So Gandhara, Mathura, Amaravati schools of art will be dealt with when I do art and architecture topic. When I do art and architecture, so these three schools of art developed during the post-Maurya period. Now, during this period, in the post-Maurya period, we have the resurgence of Vedic religion or Brahmanism. So earlier, under the Mauryas, we have Buddhism and to an extent Jainism flourishing, not the Vedic religion, but in the post-Maurya period, under the Shatavahanas, Shungas, Kanvas, we have again Vedic religion becoming popular. Vedic religion, that is Brahmanism. Emphasis was given on sacrifices, rituals and elaborate sacrifices of animals. Again, Vedic religion became strong. And also we have Bhagavatism, the worship of Krishna. Bhagavatism, many of the foreigners began to worship Krishna. So Bhagavatism was a new cult which arose, and later Bhagavatism became part of Vaishnavism, and Krishna was reduced to an avatar of Vishnu by the Gupta period. So many of the foreigners began to worship Krishna because by this time the concept of bhakti had come into existence. Concept of bhakti, unadulterated devotion to a chosen deity. That's called bhakti. So all these are the highlights of this period, post-Maurya period. Did you understand? So once you get the big picture, this is the big picture I've given you. Once you get the big picture, then we will break it up into small chunks, and we'll deal with the local dynasties, the foreign dynasties, the foreign tribes, the local dynasties which succeeded Mauryas, the Sangam age, etc., etc. Are you clear? Can I start? So this is the bird's eye view of this chapter. So know this big picture, then it will become easy to relate. Okay, good. So as you can see, the post-Maurya period, 200 BC to 300 AD. So this is called the Dark Age because you have political fragmentation of India, and many of these kingdoms which were established were ruled by foreigners. But then modern historians call it as the mercantile age of India. And we have remarkable progress in all these areas: trade, literature, religion, art, and architecture. So in the post-Maurya period, we have political disunity and confusion. We have both foreign tribes and indigenous kingdoms being established, right? So let us look at, first of all, this is the Great Wall of China on your screen. This is the Great Wall of China, the red color line. Okay, it was completed by Shi Huangdi. Shi Huangdi, he completed this wall 220 BC. And this is the picture of the Great Wall of China. As you can see on your screen, it is supposedly 21,198, 196.18 kilometers, more than half the circumference of the Earth. So the circumference of the Earth is 40,075 kilometers. This is slightly more than half of the circumference of the Earth. You have watchtowers at intervals, as you can see here. These are the watchtowers. The width of this wall is 16 feet. It is 16 feet wide. Okay, and then it is about 22 to 25 feet in height. And you have soldiers deployed on this wall with horses, and they kept a watch on anybody trying to sneak into China. To a large extent, Central Asian tribes were not able to penetrate into China. Of course, they would ride around the wall. They would try to ride around the wall, but it was not easy because the length of the wall itself is 21,000 kilometers. So the coming of foreign tribes into India coincided with the construction of the Great Wall of China, the completion of the Great Wall of China. Right. So let us look at the foreign dynasties who came to India during this period. The first to arrive were the Indo-Greeks. We'll talk about them. Indo-Greeks, the Scythians or the Shakas, the Parthians, and the Kushanas. In that order, they came into India. The Bactrian Greeks or the Indo-Greeks, the Shakas or Scythians, the Parthians, and the Kushanas. So let us talk about the foreign tribes who came to India. Now, you see, we have spoken about Seleucus Nicator. Who was Seleucus Nicator? He was the general of Alexander. So Seleucus Nicator was defeated by Chandragupta Maurya. We have seen that Chandragupta Maurya gave him 400 or 500 elephants, and Seleucus Nicator gave up the Trans-Indus region. So this Seleucus Nicator, the father-in-law of Chandragupta Maurya, established the Seleucid Empire. Seleucid Empire. So he had established the Seleucid Empire. He had conquered a number of areas. And so imagine this is the Seleucid Empire. This is the Seleucid Empire, right? And we have an area called Bactria. So there was an area called Bactria within the Seleucid Empire. So around the 3rd century BC, the Seleucid Empire became weak. Seleucid Empire, after the death of Seleucus Nicator, became weak, and Bactria separated itself. It broke away from the Seleucid Empire. Bactria separated itself from the Seleucid Empire, and we have a king called Demetrius. So he declared himself independent, this Demetrius, the king of Bactria, and he was the first Greek hero after Alexander to conquer a few parts of northwest India. So he conquered a few parts of northwest India. So he's considered to be the second Greek hero after Alexander to conquer a few parts of northwest India. Demetrius appointed his assistant by name Menander as his representative over those conquered territories. Now, I repeat, Seleucid Empire was established by Seleucus Nicator, and after the death of, and Bactria was a part of Seleucid Empire. After the death of Seleucus Nicator, the Seleucid Empire became weak, and Bactria broke away from the Seleucid Empire. And Demetrius, the ruler of Bactria, conquered a few parts of northwest India. He was the second Greek officer, the second Greek man in the history of to conquer a few parts of northwest India after Alexander. Now, Demetrius appointed Menander as his representative over those conquered areas, and he went back to Bactria. So Demetrius went back to Bactria, but then Demetrius was assassinated in Bactria. He was assassinated. Thereupon, Menendar declared himself independent and made Sakala, that is Sagala or Sialkot, what we now call Sialkot in Pakistan, as his capital, and he began to rule. So Menendar declared himself independent after the assassination of Demetrius, and he made Sakala his capital and he began to rule. And Menendar is considered to be the greatest of the Indo-Greek kings or the Bactrian kings. He's supposed to be the greatest of the Indo-Greek rulers. Are you there with me? Did you understand what I just now told you? Very simple. Are you there with me, all of you? So he's considered to be the greatest of the Indo-Greek kings. Menendar had a Buddhist monk in his kingdom. His name was Nagasena. Nagasena. So this was a Buddhist monk in the court of Menendar. And Menendar began to ask many questions about Lord Buddha and the Buddhists. So he saw many Buddhist monks who had shaven their head, wearing yellow robes and roaming around, wandering around. So Menendar was inquisitive to know who these people are, why they have shaven their head, thousands of them. Why are they wearing yellow robes, yellow clothes? So Nagasena, who was a Buddhist monk, answered all those questions, all those doubts, all those questions raised by Menendar. And Menendar, in other words, came to know everything about Lord Buddha and Buddhism. He was so much enamored and influenced by whatever he heard from Nagasena that Menendar converted himself to Buddhism. So Menendar became a Buddhist. He converted himself to Buddhism. And this question and answer session, this dialogue between Menendar, King Menendar, and Nagasena is contained in a book called Milinda Panha. Milinda Panha or Milinda Panho or Nagasena Bhikshu Sutra. Nagasena Bhikshu Sutra. This is considered to be the most important work after the three Pitakas. We have Buddhist literature contained in three Pitakas: Sutta Pitaka, Vinaya Pitaka, Abhidhamma Pitaka. We'll talk about it when I do Buddhism, all these Pitakas. But then, apart from the three Pitakas, the most important book is this, the Milinda Panha, written by Nagasena, the Buddhist monk Nagasena. Can you please raise your hand? Have you understood whatever I've told? Can I continue? Hello? Audible? Visible? Okay, great. So, you see, the Greeks introduced what are the highlights of the Greek rule? Understand this. What are the highlights of the Greek rule? Now, who are these Greeks? Bactria. What was Bactria? Bactria was the name for northern Afghanistan. You remember? Alexander had come and gone back, but many of the soldiers and officers who had come along with him did not go back with him. They married the local women of northern Afghanistan, and northern Afghanistan in Greek literature, in Greek records, is called Bactria. These are the Bactrian Greeks who were living there, right? And of course, we have Demetrius, who broke away from the Seleucid Empire, declared himself independent, and conquered a few parts of northwest India, appointed Menendar as his representative, and after the assassination of Demetrius at Bactria, Menendar declared himself independent and ruled from Sakala as his capital. Sialkot in Pakistan has his capital. Now, what are the highlights of the Greek rule? You see, the Greeks introduced military governorships. They introduced military governorships called strategos. They introduced military governorships called strategos. Now, what is strategos, military governorships? For example, let us say this is the kingdom of the Greeks, right? This is the king at the center, and this is his kingdom. So here you have a military officer called A. So this is A military stratego, B, C, D, etc. So this area has been given away to A. has his governorship. Similarly, this area is being given away to B, and along with some delegation of powers, like for example, law collection of maintenance of law and order, collection of land revenue, and also act as a judge in that area. So each of these governors or strategos were given certain territories over which they have to maintain law and order, collect land revenue from the farmers, and act as a judge. And when the king went to war, these strategos A, B, C, D, etc., will help the king in his wars. These are called military governorships, right? These are called military governorships. So this was introduced by the Greeks. Later, it came to be called Nayaka system under the Vijayanagar kings. So Ikta system, it was called Ikta system under the Delhi Sultans. The holder of an Ikta was called Iktadar. Similarly, the Mughals also introduced Mansabdari system. Mansabdars were given Jagirs. Okay, land grants called Jagir. So a Mansabdar was also called a Jagirdar for that reason, right? Then you have Mokasa, a land area called Mokasa given away to military commanders by the Maratha kings. Then you have Amaram land given away to Nayakas under the Vijayanagar kings. So they came to be called Amara Nayakas. So like that, I mean, these are military governorships. Military governors were called strategos. They were given some territory to rule over, to govern over. And apart from governing that area, they were supposed to collect land revenue, they were supposed to maintain law and order, collect land revenue, and act as a judge. And when the king went to war, they would assist the king in the discharge of in his wars, right? So this is number one. Number two is the Greeks replaced the punch mark coins with double die struck coins. So they introduced gold coins. The Greeks introduced gold coins, and on their gold coins we have the name of the king embossed. Name of the king is embossed along with a small picture of his. So from this we can reconstruct the history of the Greeks. So introduced gold coins on a small scale, though. Introduced gold coins on a small scale, and the name of the king has been embossed along with some symbols there. So we can reconstruct the history of the Greeks from these coin legends. They also introduced double die struck coins. That is, they have been struck twice. So they're very clear to see. Double die struck coins. Then the Greeks also influenced Indian theatre. They introduced curtain called Yamanika. Yamanika is a curtain. So they influenced Indian theatre by introducing curtains in India. For example, if you go to a movie, a single screen movie, nowadays you have malls and you have multi screens. But then let us say you go to a drama, you go to a small town or a village, there's a drama and there's a stage and there's a curtain which has been put. And before the drama starts, the curtain opens. It may open sideways or it may go up. So that is called Yavanika. So in Greece, ancient Greece, this was the practice before a theater performance began. There would be a curtain separating the performers from the audience. And before the play or the act would begin, the curtain would be drawn aside. So they influenced Indian theater, and the curtain is called Yavanika, right? And of course, the Greeks were the ones who um, introduced or began the Gandhara school of art. So this is number 5, the Gandhara school of art. They were the ones who were responsible for the Gandhara school of art. So this will be dealt with when I do art and architecture. So Buddha was depicted in a Greco-Roman man as a manner, as a Greek and Roman god. So Buddha was given a mustache. Buddha was given a beard. He was shown as a robust physique with a robust physique in the statues, like a Greco-Roman god. So all these are the features of the Greek rule. So many of these Greeks took to the worship of Buddha, converted themselves to Buddhism. This is about the Greek rule. Are you there with me? So let us look at the PPTs now. So, um, Seleucid Empire weakened after the death of Seleucus Nicator. Demetrius became the ruler of Bactria. Bactria broke away from the Seleucid Empire, and he conquered a few territories of northwest India. He appointed his military general Menendar as his representative. When Demetrius was assassinated, Menendar proclaimed himself independent and established an independent kingdom with Sakala or modern Sialkot in Pakistan as his capital. So this is the Indo-Greek kingdom in blue, as you can see on your screen. Indo-Greek kingdom with Sakala or Sialkot has its capital, Sagala, Sialkot. So Menendar, also called Milinda in Indian literature, he is the greatest of the Indo-Greek kings. Capital was Sakala or Sialkot. He embraced Buddhism and he was converted to Buddhism by Nagasena. And I told you the dialogue between Nagasena and Milinda is contained in a Pali book called Milinda Panha. It is written in Pali language, also called Nagasena Bhikshu Sutra. Then the Greeks introduced military governorships called strategos. They influenced Indian numismatics. They introduced double die struck coins, which replaced the punch marked coins. And they were the first to introduce gold coins in India. With inscriptions in Prakrit language and Kharoshti script. So they were the first to introduce gold coins on a small scale. The gold coins minted by Menendar contain his image and his titles, Deva Bharata, Sudeva Bharata. So they introduced gold coins with the name of their king embossed on those gold coins. Right? For example, we have Menendar introducing a gold coin with his titles, Deva Bharata, Sudeva Bharata on one side and Buddhist Dharma Chakra on the other side. They influenced Indian theatre or Yamanika. It's called Yamanika. So this is about the Indo-Greeks or the Bactrian Greeks. Are you clear? Simple, na? Factual information, simple. Can I move on? So let us come to the second dynasty. What is important? What is most important, Kola? We are doing that. Nothing to do with, nothing much about fighting here. Good afternoon, Lakshmi. So no fights. Wherever there are fights, I'll bring the fights also. Don't worry. Shungas, Puja, wait. Shungas, you don't jump the gun. We are doing the foreign tribes now. First, we'll do foreign tribes. Then we'll come to the local dynasties. Shungas, Kanvas, Shatavahanas. We'll deal with them also. I've given you an overview. Okay, I've given an overview at the beginning of this session. And then I'm doing the details now. Now let us come to the second tribe who came into India, the Scythians or the Shakas. So they were from Central Asia, the Scythians. And Patanjali, understand this, Patanjali, an ancient Indian grammarian, in his book Mahabhashya, he writes a book called Mahabhashya. In that book, he calls the Scythians as Shakas. He calls Scythians as Shakas. So the word Shaka was used for the Scythians first by Patanjali in his book Mahabhashya. The Scythians used to shave half their head. So they used to shave the first half of their head, and we have 5 branches of the Shakas who established kingdoms in India. So they came in waves and they established 5 branches. One branch ruled over parts of present-day Afghanistan. Another branch ruled over Pakistan, parts of Pakistan. Another branch ruled over UP, Mathura, with Mathura as capital. These 3 branches are not important. So even if you forget about them, it doesn't matter. So we'll come back here. And then we have 2 more branches who ruled over present-day Madhya Pradesh. One with Ujjain as capital, and the other branch of the Shakas with Mandsaur in Madhya Pradesh as capital. So both are in Madhya Pradesh, Ujjain and Mandsaur. So 2 separate branches of the Shakas ruled over parts of Madhya Pradesh. One is the Kardamaka branch of the Shakas with Ujjain as capital. The other is the Kshaharata branch of the Shakas with Mandsaur as capital. So I made a chart for our convenience. So look here on your screen. This is the Indo-Scythian kingdom or the Shaka kingdom. Right? So we have 5 branches of the Shakas. The first branch ruled over Afghanistan with Kapisa. The name of the kingdom was Kapisa. Capital was Kapisa in Afghanistan. Second branch of the Shakas ruled over Takshashila in Pakistan. And the earliest king of the Shakas belongs to this branch. His name was Moga or Meus. So he's supposed to be the first Shaka king, Moga or Meus, first Shaka king, Moga. Then we have the third branch of the Shakas, which ruled from Mathura in UP, Mathura, with Mathura as capital. So these three are not very important. One branch ruled over Afghanistan, another branch Pakistan, third over Mathura in UP. Fourth and the fifth branch of the Shakas are important. So we have the Kardamaka branch of the Shakas. Fourth branch of the Shakas, Kardamaka branch of the Shakas. Kardamaka branch of the Shakas. This ruled from Ujjain in Madhya Pradesh as its capital, and the greatest of the Kardamaka branch of the Shakas was Rudradaman. So Rudradaman was the greatest of the Kardamaka branch of the Shakas. They ruled over present-day Malwa and Gujarat regions. And I have spoken about Rudradaman. He issued the first long inscription in pure Sanskrit. This is the Junagadh rock inscription. It talks about the history of a lake. What does it talk about? It talks about the history of a lake. Which lake? What is the name of the lake? Sudarshana. Very good. Sudarshana Lake. It talks about the Sudarshana Lake. Very good. So this is the inscription issued by Rudradaman, who was a Kardamaka branch Shaka king. So this is the first pure inscription, earliest Sanskrit inscription, right? It is in pure Sanskrit. All other inscriptions before this were in Prakrit language. It talks to us about the history of the Sudarshana Lake. Who built this lake? Vaishya Pushyagupta. During the time of Chandragupta Maurya, he built this lake. He was the governor of Junagadh. Then it tells us that during the time of Ashoka, this lake was damaged. Therefore, the governor of Junagadh during the time of Ashoka, Yavanaraja Tushaspa, repaired that lake. Then it also tells us that during the time of Rudradaman, again this lake was damaged. So his governor of Junagadh by name, Huvishka or Suvishka, he repaired that lake. Then during the time of Skandagupta, this lake was repaired by Chakrapalita, his governor of Junagadh. So all these details are found in the Junagadh rock inscription of Rudradaman. Then we have the Gupta king. Gupta king, Chandragupta II, Vikramaditya. So he killed the last Shaka king by name Rudrasimha III and ended the rule of the Shakas. So Rudrasimha III was the last Shaka king of India, and by killing him, Chandragupta II ended the rule of the Shakas here in India, and he took the title Shakari, the destroyer of Shakas. When I come to Gupta period, we'll talk about it. How it happened, we'll talk about it. This is the Kardamaka branch of the Shakas. So they ruled from Ujjain as their capital. Their greatest king was Rudradaman, who issued the first long, pure inscription in Sanskrit language. That is the Junagadh rock inscription, which gives us the details of the Sudarshana Lake, the history of the Sudarshana Lake. And then the last Shaka king was Rudra Simha III, who was killed by Chandragupta II, who took the title of Shakari. So this is one branch of the Shakas, Kardamaka branch. Another branch of the Shakas, again ruled from Madhya Pradesh, with Mandsaur as capital. This is the Kshaharata branch of the Shakas. Kshaharata dynasty, the Kshaharata branch of the Shakas. Are you there with me, all of you? Kshaharata branch of the Shakas. Now look here. I'll draw a map for you. Again, I tell you, don't take my map seriously. Now, you see, we have the Kshaharata branch of the Shakas ruling from this area. Kshaharata branch, Kshaharata Shakas ruled over this area of Gujarat, Malwa. They ruled over this area of Gujarat and Malwa. Gujarat and Malwa. This is Gujarat, isn't it? So they were ruling this area, the Kshaharata branch of the Shakas. They were ruling this area. And the Shatavahanas, understand this, the Shatavahanas initially were also ruling over southern Gujarat and northern Maharashtra areas. The Shatavahanas also were ruling over southern Gujarat, southern Malwa, and northern Maharashtra areas, Shatavahanas. And Aparanta, this is Aparanta for you. What is Aparanta? Aparanta is the Konkan coast. Old name for Konkan coast is Aparanta. Konkan coast. Konkan coast was very, very fertile. As you can see, very, very fertile, this area. Lot of trade took place. So you have the kings who could collect not only land revenue from the farmers, they could also collect custom duties from the traders and merchants. So whoever ruled this area, Aparanta, would stand benefited. The Shatavahanas were interested in this area. The Kshaharata branch of the Shakas were also interested. So what happened is Aparanta became the bone of contention between the Kshaharata branch of the Shakas and the early Shatavahanas. And initially, what happened is the Kshaharata branch of the Shakas were able to defeat the Shatavahanas. So they, in this conflict over the Aparanta coast, the Kshaharata branch of the Shakas had an upper hand over the Shatavahanas, and they defeated the Shatavahanas and pushed the Shatavahanas down south. So Shatavahanas come to the region of Telangana. Telangana becomes the nucleus of their operations. So they are pushed down south by the Kshaharata branch of the Shakas. This was the case of the early Shatavahanas. Now the Shatavahanas did not forget this. So totally, you please understand, Shatavahanas ruled for about 460 years. We'll come to Shatavahanas later. Shatavahanas ruled for about 460 years, 225 BC to 225 AD, under 30 Shatavahana kings. So they ruled for about 460 years under 30 Shatavahana kings. The greatest of the Shatavahana kings was a man called Gautami Putra Shatakarni. Gautami Putra Shatakarni. He was the 23rd of the Shatavahana line of kings, 23rd in the line of Shatavahana kings. This Gautami Putra Shatakarni took his army and then he waged war against the Kshaharata branch of the Shakas. So he attacked the Kshaharata kingdom and he killed the Kshaharata king Nahapana and his son-in-law Ushawadatta. So Kshaharata king at that point in time was Nahapana. Nahapana. And Nahapana's son-in-law was Ushawadatta. Usavadatta. So he killed both of them, this Gautami Putra Shatakarni. After killing Nahapana and ending the line of the Kshaharata branch of the Shaka. So he ended the lineage of the Ksaharatas by killing Nahapana and his son-in-law Ushavadatta. Gautami Putra Shatakarni took a title. He had many titles. One of the titles he took was Kshaharata Vamsha Nirvashe Sakara. Kshaharata Vamsha Nirvashe Sakara, the one who exterminated the Kshaharata branch of the Shakas. So the Kardamaka branch of the Shakas was ended by the Gupta king Chandragupta II, who took the title of Shakari. The Kshaharata branch of the Shaka was ended by Gautami Putra Shatakarni when he killed Nahapana and his son-in-law Usavadatta. So when I come to that part, I'll talk about it. So just remember that in the mind. You can see here on your screen. Kshaharata dynasty ruled from Mandsaur as its capital, Mandsaur in present-day Madhya Pradesh. Greatest was Nahapana, who's called Mambaras, and Gautami Putra Shatakarni of the Shatavahanas defeated and killed him along with his son-in-law and took the title Kshaharata Vamsha Nirvashe Sakara. You can see here Kshaharata Vamsha Nirvashe Sakara, the exterminator, the terminator of the Kshaharata dynasty. And he also restruck 10,000 silver coins of Nahapana. Nahapana had issued 10,000 silver coins. Once Nahapana was defeated and killed, on his silver coins, he struck his name. Gautami Putra Shatakarni, embossed his name, got his name embossed on those coins, struck on those coins, or minted on those coins. So Nahapana's coin has been overlapped by Gautami Putra Shatakarni's name, right? This is about the Shakas or the Scythians. There are 5 branches of the Shakas, but 2 are important. One is the Kardamaka branch, and another is the Kshaharata branch of the Shakas. Did you understand? Puja, once again, which one you want once again? Kshaharata branch of the Shakas. Okay, see, I told you, see, if you go to this map, initially you have the Konkan coast Aparanta, which became the bone of contention between the early Shatavahanas and the Kshaharata branch of the Shakas. Because Aparanta was very strategically located, lot of trade took place, international trade took place through via the Bay of Bengal, also fertile area. So therefore, the kings will have double income, one from land revenue, another from custom duties. So therefore, it was a very precious or coveted area for any king to possess this area. It was a precious area. Both of them wanted it. Shatavahanas and Ksharatas wanted it. But Ksharatas managed to defeat the early Shatavahanas and they pushed them down south. So they come to present-day Andhra Pradesh, the region of Telangana, where you have Hyderabad. That becomes the nucleus of their operations. All right, the Shatavahana operations. Later, one of their kings, the greatest of the Shatavahanas, Gautamiputra Shatakarni, took revenge against the Ksharatas when he defeated and killed Nahapana and ended the lineage of the Kshaharata branch of the Shakas and took the title Kshaharata Vamsha Nirvashe Sakara. So that's what I said. Okay, Puja. Clear? Okay, right. So this is about the Shakas. Then one more thing is the Shakas, we'll come back here, they introduced the Satrapal system. Understand this? The Shakas introduced the Satrapal system. What is the Satrapal system? They introduced the Satrap system. Satrap system. That is, what is the Satrap system? Joint rule of a Mahasatrapa and a Satrapa. Satrapa. So something like Mahasatrapa is the governor, and below him you have small governors or satraps. So if Mahasatrapa is the governor, the satraps are local, small chiefs below the governor. This is called Satrapal system, which was introduced by the Shakas or the Scythians. Satrapal system, Satrap system. Joint rule of a Mahasatrapa and a Satrapa. Right? Then we come to the next dynasty, the Parthians. So Indo-Parthian kingdom. So you see here on your screen, Parthians are also called Pahalavas. They were from Parthia in northern Iran. So they came from Parthia or northern Iran. The greatest of the Parthian rulers was a person called Gondophanes. Greatest, most famous ruler was Gondophanes, during whose period we have the first Christian pilgrim father who came to India. His name was Father Saint Thomas. Saint Thomas came to India during this period. What happened is, off the coast of Chennai, his ship was wrecked. And he landed at Chennai, right? A shipwrecked Saint Thomas landed. He was one of the 12 disciples of Lord Jesus Christ, one of the 12 apostles of Jesus Christ. And what happened is, the local people, they saw this person, he looked different from them. So they got suspicious. They caught hold of St. Thomas, they killed him. And they buried him in a place in Chennai, which is now in Chennai, called Mount St. Thomas Mount. So if you go to Chennai, you have this holy place called St. Thomas Mount, which contains where you have the holy remains of St. Thomas, which has been buried there. So he was castrated, and buried there in that place, the Mount of St. Thomas. So he was the first Christian to come to India. He was killed on 3rd of July, 72 AD, according to Syrian Christian tradition. So Marco Polo, he was a Venetian traveler. In the 13th century, we have Marco Polo. He was a traveler from Venice in Italy. He visited India, and he says that he saw the tomb of St. Thomas at Chennai, and he entered India. Marco Polo entered India through the Motupalli port in Andhra Pradesh. And you have the Kakatiyas ruling. Kakatiyas were ruling, and the queen was Rudrama Devi, Rani Rudrama Devi, during that point in time. So Marco Polo speaks highly of Rani Rudrama Devi, and he enters India through the Motupalli port. Then from India, he went to China. This Marco Polo, he was in the court of Kublai Khan, the emperor of China, the Mongol king of China, Kublai Khan. He was there in the court of Kublai Khan for 10 years. And then after 10 years, he sought permission from Kublai Khan. He went back to Italy, and he writes a book, The Travels of Marco Polo. In that book, Marco Polo claimed that China has a much more advanced civilization than that of Europe. And this book, The Travels of Marco Polo, resulted in many Europeans wanting to go to China and check out for themselves whether whatever Marco Polo had written is true or not. So, anyway, so this is the same Marco Polo who came to India, visited South India at that point in time. So Saint Thomas was killed, and and this is the Saint Thomas Mount, which has where we have the where Saint Thomas was buried, killed and buried. He was the first Christian to come to India, first Christian to arrive in India, Saint Thomas, right? Then we have the fourth dynasty, the Kushanas, who came. So we have the Bactrian Greeks, the Scythians or the Shakas, the Parthians, and then the Kushanas. The Kushans were from Central Asia. They are called Tokharians or Yuchis. Yuchis are also Tokharians. They established a large kingdom from the river Oxus in Central Asia to the river Ganges. So they established a huge kingdom. Their early capital was Purushapura or Peshawar in Pakistan, and later capital was Mathura. And these Kushans introduced gold coins on the lines of the Roman gold coins. For example, the founder was a person called Kujula Cadphises. Kujula Cadphises was their founder. Vima Cadphises issued gold coins called dinars. Now, please understand this. Kushans copied their gold coins from the Romans. Roman gold coins were called denarius. Denarius. And the Kushans who copied these Roman gold coins called denarius, called their gold coins as dinars. And later the Guptas copied the Kushana gold coins. The Guptas copied the Kushana gold coins, and that way, indirectly, you have Roman influence on the Gupta gold coins. I repeat, the Kushanas copied the design of the Roman gold coins called denarius, and they called their gold coins as dinars. Later, the Gupta kings copied the Kushana gold coins. Therefore, Gupta gold coins indirectly have Roman influence, are influenced by Roman gold coins. So Vima Cadphises issued gold coins called dinars, along with the images of Shiva, Trishul, Nandi, and also a title Maheshwara. The greatest of the Kushana kings was Kanishka. Kanishka was the greatest. So he was a very tolerant king. He was he had a Catholic outlook, that is Catholic outlook, known for his Catholic outlook. What's the meaning of Catholic outlook? He worshipped many gods like wind god, sun god, fire god, Buddha, Shakya Buddha. So there are 8 Buddhas. Siddhartha Gautama was one of the Buddhas. He was not the only Buddha. So he worshipped many gods. That's why he is considered to be having a Catholic outlook. Kanishka was the one who conducted the 4th Buddhist council at Kashmir. So he was the person. We have the 4th Buddhist council at Kashmir. 4th Buddhist council. It took place at Kashmir, in Srinagar, Kashmir. Kundala Mana Vihara, Srinagar, Kashmir. That was the name of the place. Kundala Vana Vihara. Now, this particular council was president was, or chairman was Vasumitra. And the vice president, VP, was Ashwagosha. So it was Kanishka who conducted the 4th Buddhist Council. He hosted the 4th Buddhist Council at Kashmir. He also built a huge stupa He also built a huge vihara at Peshawar. That was his capital, Peshawar in Pakistan, or Purushapura, and a stupa there, which excited foreigners. Now, um, you see, in the fourth council, the president Vasumitra wrote a book called Mahavibhasha Shastra. Mahavibhasha Shastra. This is a Sarvastivada book. And Ashwagosha wrote, the vice president wrote a number of dramas. In fact, the earliest dramas in India belong to him. Shauriputra Prakarana, and Sundara Nandana. These are the earliest dramas of India, written by Ashwagosha, the vice president of the fourth council. Charaka was his physician. Charaka wrote Charaka Samhita. So Charaka wrote Charaka Samhita. Charaka was a physician, and Charaka Samhita is considered to be an encyclopedia of Indian medicine, Charaka Samhita. Kanishka is supposed to have been killed by a Chinese general called Pan Chao. Yes, Pan Chao, Chao. Chinese name, it's difficult. It is Pan Khao or Pan Chao. So it spells as Panchao. So Kanisha was killed by this Chinese general called Pan Chao. Now, please understand, the Kushanas were the ones who control the Silk Route. You can see here. Just hold on. I'll come back here. This is the Silk Route. You can see on your map in front of you on the screen. You see silk. What is the method of making silk? You know, I'm sure all of you know how silk is made. How is silk made? Cocoon. Okay, Drishti, very good. Silkworm. See, you're right. Yeah, all of you know that. So here, please understand, this is the Chinese method of making silk. The world did not know about this method for a very long time because the Chinese had kept it a secret. What is the Chinese method of making silk? As you know, you have the silkworm which eats only one plant, the leaves of the mulberry plant. It eats leaves. It doesn't eat anything else except the leaf of the mulberry plant. So what the Chinese used to do is they'll rear silkworms and they'll feed the silkworm mulberry leaves. So the silkworm has no better work. Day and night it keeps on munching on the mulberry leaves, and within a few weeks it puts on 1,000 times its original weight. And what the silkworm starts doing is it starts weaving a cocoon around itself. Now, what the Chinese would do is, so it is sitting inside the cocoon after weaving a cocoon around itself. The Chinese would take this cocoon and put it in hot boiling water. The worm dies because in the hot boiling water, the worm dies, and then the silk was extracted. This is the Chinese method of making silk. Now, please understand, the Chinese kept this as closely guarded secret. They did not reveal this secret to anybody. And therefore, and there was a lot of demand for Chinese silk. So what the Chinese did is, a route came into existence. This is the Silk Route, as you can see on your screen, starting from China. So one is coming from Beijing, another from Shanghai, going all the way through Central Asia, and then northwest portions of India, like this, and then going all the way to a place called Kashgar. So we have a place called Kashgar here. We had a place called Kashgar. So it would go and terminate there. And the Kushanas controlled the Silk Route. This was a 10,000-kilometer journey. Understand this, 10,000-kilometer route this was, Silk Route. Not that one single traveler traveled this entire length. No, it was not possible. He will go from one market town to another market town, taking his consignment of silk. Let's say I'm a silk merchant. I will travel, let us say, 50 kilometers with my silk goods, and then in the next market town, on the way, on the Silk Route, there's a market. I will sell my silk there, and then I'll come back home. The person who has bought my silk, the merchant, he will carry that silk to the next market town. And like a relay system, it finally ended at Kashgar, where Europeans used to come and pick up silk, Chinese silk, and take it to Europe. And the Europeans were prepared to give as much as gold and silver coins as possible for this silk. So lot of gold was flowing into China. At the same time, please understand, since the Kushana kings controlled the Silk Route, as the silk merchants traversed through northwest portions of India via Kushana territory, the silk merchants would be stopped by the Kushana kings, and they will extract taxes from them. So the officers of the Kushana kings will extract taxes from these merchants. That way, more gold and silver coins was flowing into India. So the Kushanas controlled the Silk Route. Did you understand? They control the Silk Route this way. So, so we'll look here. Come back here, Kanishka. So and one more thing is, I forgot to mention this part. The Kushana kings assumed royal titles. They assumed royal titles after the Romans and the Chinese. So you see, Roman emperors used to call themselves as Caesar. Caesar. So the Kushana kings began to call themselves as Kaiser. So the word Kaiser came from Caesar. Like, for example, even the Germans used to call their kings Kaiser. It is from the word Caesar. The Russians used to call their emperor as Tsar. This is the Russian equivalent of the word Caesar. So Roman emperors used to have the title of Caesar. See, the Kushana kings began to call their kings as Kaiser. Similarly, we have the Chinese emperors who used to take the title Son of God, Sons of God, Sons of God. So here we have the Kushana kings who took the title Daivaputra, Daivaputra, Shahunushahi, Shahenshah, emperor, Shahunushahi, Shahanushahi, Daivaputra Shahunushahi, sons of king, sons of God. So Chinese emperors used to take this title, son of God or sons of God, and Roman emperors used to take the title of Caesar. So this was both borrowed by the Kushana kings. They took the title Kaiser and Daivaputra, right? Daivaputra and Kaiser. So Kaiser and Devaputra. So in other words, they strengthened the divine right theory of kingship. What is divine right theory of kingship? The king is the representative of God on this earth. The king is the representative of God on this earth. If you go against the king, you're going against God. If you go against the king, you're going against God. So therefore, you better not go against the king because he is the representative of God on this earth. So that is also the reason why you have the so-called Jaroka Darshan under the Mughals. Under Mughal emperors, every morning people will be waiting to see the face of the Mughal emperor because Mughal emperor was considered to be equal to God on this earth. He is a representative of God on this earth. So seeing the face of the emperor is equal to seeing God. So Mughal emperors until Shah Jahan gave darshan to the people in the morning. So the Mughal emperor will come, get up and come and show his face to the people, and people will fold their hands, and then they will go and do their work. They'll carry on to do their work. So it was equal to seeing God. Okay, so these are the gold coins of the Kushana. See, the first to issue gold coins on a small scale were the Indo-Greeks. The Kushanas introduced gold coins on a large scale. So Kushanas introduced gold coins on a large scale. On a large scale, right? And the largest scale, Guptas were the ones who introduced gold on the largest scale. Gold coins on the largest scale were issued by the Guptas, by the Gupta kings. Indo-Greeks, first to issue gold coins. Right. So coins of Kanishka, you can see gold coins. This is the Kushana Empire. So he built the city of Kanishkapura, Kushana, Kanishka. He conducted the fourth council at Kashmir, fourth Buddhist council. Vasumutra was the president who wrote Mahavibhasha Shastra. Ashwagosha was the vice president, and Ashwagosha wrote the earliest dramas in India, Shauriputra Prakarana, Sundara Nandana. So please understand, these are all factual information. So what you do is you open up cue cards, make cut papers into 6 centimeters by 5 centimeters or 4 centimeters, right? Then in small fonts, you write whatever factual information is there. Like, for example, the books written by Ashwagosha, Shauriputra Prakarana, Sundara Nandana, poems like Buddha Charita, Vajra Suchi, Gandhi Stotra. So these are all things you write and then keep on revising them whenever you're free, when you're traveling, you don't have any much to do, you're relaxing, you just keep, swifting to those small notes which you have made. So that becomes a revision for you. It's easy to remember that way. So do that. So Shauriputra Prakarana, Sundara Nandana, he also wrote poems like Buddha Charita, Vajra Suchi, Gandhi Stotra. Charaka was his court physician, I told you, right? And then he was defeated by a Chinese military general called Pan Chao. Kushans controlled the Silk Route. They were the first to issue gold coins on a large scale. You have first traces of irrigation in Afghanistan, northwest Central Asia, belonging to the Kushana period. So this is wrong here. I could not delete this. Kushanas introduced a Satrap system. I told you Satrap system introduced by the Shakas, not the Kushanas. So this is wrong. Just strike off that. Please strike off that those two sentences. I've told you Satrap system was introduced by the Shakas, not by the Kushanas. Are you there with me, all of you? Hello? All clear? Okay. So here Shakas and Kushanas introduced what into India? You see, they introduced a number of horse accessories. Like you have motorcycle accessories. You go to a motorcycle showroom or a Royal Enfield or some other showroom. You have nowadays jackets, helmets, boots, gloves, leg guard, chin guard, all sorts of guards. So are there. So this gives you protection from any fall, accident, etc. Like that, you have horse accessories introduced by these foreigners: helmet, boot, long coat called sherwani, leather reins, leather saddle, stirrup. All these are horse accessories which were not there in India. So they introduced better cavalry, better horses, reins, leather reins, saddles. Saddle is where you sit on the horse, a leather saddle. So then turbans. So they came from a cold climate. These Central Asians came from a cold climate. So it was difficult to ride the horse in that weather. So they used to wear a proper gear. So they'll wear warm clothes, a long coat, a long flowing coat like a sherwani. They will wear trousers, right? Because it is easy to mount the horse and sit warm on the horse. When the horse is riding, it is running fast, cold wind is blowing, so they can catch a cold, they can fall sick. So they have to keep themselves warm like that. And of course, your leather reins, stirrup, where you lock your legs. When you sit on the horse, you have your legs on either side of the horse. So there's a sort of a ring that's called a stirrup, where you place your legs and lock your thighs into the tummy of the horse, so that you don't fall. So all those things were introduced by these Central Asian tribes: caps, helmets, boots. Gold flowed into India. Gold flowed into India because of the Silk Route. So these are the highlights of the foreigners who came to India, right? Then we come to the native dynasties. Native dynasties: the Shungas, Kanvas, Shatavahanas, and the Meghavarman dynasty. All clear till here, all of you? As I told you, it's mostly factual, but then that's how the topic is. So we will carry on. we have the local dynasties which succeeded the Mauryas, the Sungas and the Kanvas in the north, then the Shatavahanas in the south. Then in Orissa, we have the Meghavarman dynasty or the Chedi dynasty. Shaka era. Okay. See, the Jia, good question. Kanishka started the Shaka era in 78 AD. Kanishka started the Shaka era. So, see, Kanishka belonged to which dynasty? Hello, Jia? Kanishka belonged to which dynasty? Kushana. Very good. But why are we saying that he founded the Shaka era? So, the explanation given by historians is that the Kushanas and the Shakas probably ruled parallelly for some time. Kushanas and Shakas and Kushanas ruled parallelly for some time, and therefore the Shaka era is supposed to be started by Kanishka, starting 78 AD. Right. So that's why it is believed to be Kanishka. Kanishka started the Shaka era because Shakas and Kushanas ruled parallelly for some time. Right? Jia, did you get me? Cholas, yeah, they were in the south. Cholas were in the south. Yeah, they were in the south during the Sangam age. Yeah, the early Cholas, Kola, the early Cholas. We'll talk about the Cholas. Hold on. When we come to Sangam age, we'll talk about the Sangam age and the Tamil kingdoms, Cholas, Cheras, Pandyas. Right. Then we come to the native dynasties, the Shungas, Kanvas, Shatavahanas, Meghavarman. Shungas, Shunga dynasty was established by Pushyamitra Shunga, who killed his last Mauryan king, Brihadratha, and established the Shunga rule. Shungas ruled from Vidisha in Madhya Pradesh as their capital. We have important kings like Pushyamitra Shunga, and Pushyamitra Shunga is supposed to have been accused of destroying 84,000 stupas built by Ashoka. But then history doesn't support this. This is the accusation made again by the Buddhist monks, by the Buddhist sources as regards Pushyamitra Shunga. I'll come to that. You see, Shunga dynasty ruled from Vidisha in Madhya Pradesh. That was their capital. They were Brahmins belonging to the Bharadvaja Gotra. So they were serving under the Mauryas. And once the Mauryan Empire collapsed, you have the Shunga dynasty, Shungas proclaiming themselves independent. The founder, so this is Vidisha in Madhya Pradesh, that was their capital, Vidisha in Madhya Pradesh. Now, the Shunga's founder was Pushyamitra Shunga. He killed the last Mauryan king, Brihadratha. He's supposed to have performed two Ashwamedha sacrifices. He also is supposed to have defeated the Indo-Greeks. But then, please understand that Buddhist sources, Buddhist textbooks tell us that Pushyamitra Shunga destroyed all the 84,000 stupas built by Ashoka. But then archaeology doesn't support this. Now, first of all, what's a stupa? What's a stupa? Okay, you should understand what a stupa is before I proceed. What is a stupa? We'll deal with stupa, etc., the symbolic significance of a stupa, etc., when I do art and culture. See, when Buddha died, his body was burnt. Okay. Jia is right. We built on the not remains of the Buddha, relics of the Buddha. So here, once Buddha died, his dead body was burnt, and the relics were collected. What are relics? Relics are the ashes of the Buddha, the bones, a fingernail, hair, etc. They were all collected along with ashes, and then it was kept inside pots. It was kept inside a pot, huge pot, and later it was divided to 8 pots. 8 pots. These relics were divided to 8 pots, and a semi-domical structure called a stupa was constructed. A semi-domical structure. It looks something like this. So this is the platform, right? And then you have the stupa like this. This is stupa. So this is the harmika. This is a chatra, right? This is a chatra. Then you have the torana here. Torana gateway. These are the gateways. So you climb up and go like this. And deep, so this is a solid dome. This is called an anda. anda, not the Murgika anda. This is called anda. This is a solid dome. It's not hollow. And deep inside, buried inside the anda, buried deep inside the anda, you have the relics of the Buddha in a small pot. That is called tabena. This is called a tabena. So there's a pot here. Imagine there's a pot here, buried deep inside. So this is the pot. And this contains the relics of the Buddha, right? So there is a symbolic significance of the stupa, the different parts of a stupa, etc. We'll discuss this when we do art and culture. So early stupas contained the relics of the Buddha. Later stupas contained the relics of a bodhisattva. So who is a bodhisattva? We will talk about all those things when I do Buddhism. So here, the accusation against Pushyamitra Sunga made by the Buddhist sources is that he destroyed all the 84,000 stupas built by Ashoka. But archaeology doesn't support this, because from archaeology we come to know that a number of stupas were built by Pushyamitra Sunga at Bharut, Sanchi and Gaya. At Bharut is in Madhya Pradesh. So we know that a number of stupas were constructed by him at Gaya in Bihar, Bharut in Madhya Pradesh, and Sanchi near Bhopal in Madhya Pradesh. So, here archaeology doesn't support that. And Patanjali was patronized by him. Patanjali, who wrote Mahabhashya, was patronized by Pushyamitra Sunga. So this is about Pushyamitra Sunga. He was succeeded by his son Agnimitra Sunga. Agnimitra is the hero of the play Malavika Agnimitra, written by Kalidasa. Kalidasa wrote three dramas and 4 poems. What are the 3 dramas? Of course, one you know, Abhignana Shakuntalam, famous Shakuntala drama. The second is this Malavika Agnimitra, romance and love of Princess Malavika with Agnimitra. And third is, of course, Vikram Orvashiyam. Vikram, love and romance of romance and marriage of Vikrama with Urvashi, Vikram Orvashiyam. And the rest are his poems. We'll deal with Kalidasa when we do Gupta period. So Agnimitra, the son of Pushyamitra Sunga, is the hero of the play Malavika Agnimitra, written by Kalidasa. This was a UPSC prelims question. We'll come to the questions later. Right? Now, we have the 6th king of the Shungas, Kasiputra Bhagabhadra. Now look here. I'll use another page here. So Kasiputra Bhagabhadra. Now look here. When he was the king, Kasiputra Bhagabhadra, he was a king, the 6th king of the Shungas. So he was the 6th king. When he was ruling, we are told that an ambassador was sent to his kingdom by the Indo-Greek king Antialcidas. So Antialcidas, he was an Indo-Greek king, Bactrian king, Indo-Greek king. This Indo-Greek king called Antialcidas sent a person called Heliodorus to the court of Kasiputra Bhagabhadra. So remember this on your screen. Antialcidas, an Indo-Greek king, sent Heliodorus as his ambassador to the court of Kasiputra Bhagabhadra, the 6th king of the Sungas. So once Heliodorus comes to the Sunga kingdom, he was surprised and enamored with Krishna worship going on there. Krishna worship is called Bhagavatism. Bhagavatism is nothing but worship of Krishna. So Heliodorus, who came to the Shunga kingdom, was so much influenced by Bhagavatism or Krishna worship that Heliodorus converted himself to Bhagavatism. He became a Krishna devotee. This Heliodorus, he became a Krishna devotee, and he installed a pillar inscription. He has installed a pillar at Besnagar. Besnagar is another name for Vidisha. Vidisha was the capital of the Shungas. Vidisha in Madhya Pradesh. So it is also known as Besnagar, So he installed one pillar at Besnagar with the Garuda. This is the Garuda. Imagine this is the Garuda. So this is the Garuda sitting on top, but then the Garuda has fallen off. The Garuda, only the pillars remains. This is the earliest inscriptional evidence we have as regards Krishna worship. Earliest inscriptional evidence we have about Krishna worship. So I repeat, when Kasiputra Bhagabhadra was the king of the Sungas, we have the Indo-Greek king Antialcidas who sent an ambassador to the court of Kasiputra Bhagabhadra, whose name was Heliodorus. Heliodorus became a Krishna devotee. He was enamored by Krishna worship or Bhagavatism. He became a Krishna devotee and installed a pillar with an inscription at Besnagar near Vidisha, Madhya Pradesh. Are you there with me? Clear? So, again, this was a question, UPSC question. A Greek ambassador, Heliodorus, came to his court. Besnagar pillar inscription set up by Heliodorus near Vidisha, Madhya Pradesh. He reveals that he was sent by the Greek king Antialcidas. Sent by the Greek king Antialcidas to the court of Bhagavatra. This is in the Prakrit language and the Kharoshti script. Right? And the last Sunga king was Devabhuti. So this Devabhuti, the last Sunga king, was assassinated by his commander Vasudeva Kanva, who established the Kanva dynasty. So Devabhuti, the last Sunga king, was killed by Vasudeva Kanva, his commander, who established the Kanva dynasty. So again, this was a UPSC question. We'll look at the questions later. So this is about the Shungas. Clear? Shungas? Clear. Then we come to the Kanvas. So this is the Besnagar pillar inscription installed by Heliodorus. You can see the Garuda is missing there. It has fallen off. Then we come to the Kanvas. Kanva dynasty. So Sungas were succeeded by the Kanvas. They ruled from Patliputra. Not much information is there about the Kanvas. We have the founder Vasudeva Kanva. And the last Kanva king was Susarma. Susarma, he was overthrown by Shatavahana king, probably Shatakarni II. So Susarma, the last Kanva king, was overthrown by Shatakarni II of the Shatavahanas. This was the end of the Kanvas. The Sungas were succeeded by the Kanvas. Not much information is there about the Kanvas also. But we do know that they were Brahmins of the Kanvayana Gotra. So please understand, Shungas, Kanva, Shatavahanas revived the Brahmanical religion, Vedic religion. They gave importance to rituals and sacrifices. And again, the Vedic religion revived itself, which was not the case under the Mauryas, right? So the next dynasty is the Shatavahanas, or the Shatavahanas. These are the Shatavahana Empire. Now, I'll ask you a question. In the history of India, there has been only one dynasty which has ruled for more than 500 years continuously. We can trace the family tree of this dynasty from more than 500 years. And they have ruled continuously for more than 500 years. Only dynasty in the history of India. Which is the dynasty? Anybody? Hello? Gautam, Vadayars, very good. No, not Shatavahana. Shatavahanas come close. They ruled for about 460 years. These are the Vadayars of Mysore. So we can trace the family tree of the Vadayars from 1399 till present. Now, another dynasty who come close to that of the Vadayars are the Shatavahanas. They ruled for almost 460 years under 30 Shatavahana kings. You can see here 30 Shatavahana kings, 225 BC to 225 AD. They ruled over present regions of Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, Karnataka, right, and Maharashtra. So they ruled over these areas, present-day Maharashtra, Karnataka, Andhra, Telangana, and that too for about 460 years. And in this long period of their rule, they had many capitals. The latest was, of course, Dhanya Kataka. So what was their early capital? Kotilingala. This is in the Jagtial district of Telangana, Kotilingala. Pratishthanapura, that is Paithan in Maharashtra. Srikakulam, that is in the Krishna district of Andhra Pradesh, and Dhanya Kataka, that is Amaravati, which will be the capital of capital of Andhra Pradesh, modern Andhra Pradesh, Dhanyakataka or Amaravati. So these were the various capitals. What is the important aspect of the rule? I'll come to that. So here you see the Shatavahanas, as we have seen, ruled for about 460 years continuously under 30 kings. Their official language was Prakrit, Paisachi Prakrit. Paisachi Prakrit. They were the first kings in the history of India to make tax-free land grants to Brahmanas and Buddhist monks. This is very important. First rulers in the history of India to make tax-free land grants to Brahmanas and Buddhist monks. And such tax-free land grants came to be called Agrahara or Brahmadeya later. They came to be called Agrahara or Brahmadeya from the Gupta period onwards. Under Gupta kings. First rulers to make tax-free land grants to Brahmanas and Buddhist monks. You see here, let's say, there's a king, okay? There's a king, Shatavahana king, and under him you have in his kingdom you have thousands of Brahmins, lakhs of Buddhist monks. And every now and then they'll come to the king asking for donations. These people are engaging in spiritual pursuits, religion and spiritual pursuits, education, etc. They don't have their own source of income. So they will depend on grants and gifts from the king. So every now and then they will come and ask the king gifts. Once, twice, thrice is okay, but every time the king cannot give money or gifts to the Brahmanas and Buddhist monks. So what the Shatavahana king began to do was, instead of giving them money every now and then, he gave them some territory, okay, which would be their territory in perpetuity. For example, let's say this is a kingdom, right? So there's one small area here. Let's say this is a forest. Let's say this is a forested area. It belongs to the king. So it is within his kingdom. So therefore it belongs to the king, and he will give away this area to the Buddhist monks or Brahmanas. And he'll tell them, I have gifted you this 10,000 acres. It is yours, and it is tax-free. I'm not going to collect any taxes from there. So they're very happy. The Brahmanas will go there. They will see that it is a forest. They'll cut down that forest. They will sell the firewood, or they'll save up some firewood, right? And then they will plow the land and make it fit for agriculture. And whatever is grown there is not taxed by the king. So whatever is grown there will maintain the Brahmanas. Similarly, the Buddhist monks would also be given such land grants. Such land grants came to be called Agrahara or Brahmadeya from the Gupta period onwards. So they were the first rulers in the history of India to make tax-free land grants to Brahmanas and Buddhist monks, the Shatavahana kings. Further, we have the Amaravati School of Art. The Amaravati School of Art, which was patronized by the Shatavahanas. Among the three schools of art, we'll talk about it when I do art and architecture. Among the three schools of art, Gandhara, Mathura, Amaravati, this is the most beautiful in terms of looks because they use marble. They have used marble, white limestone, and marble has been used. Therefore, they look very, very beautiful. The Amaravati School of Art. The Shatavahanas controlled the Dakshinapatha trade route. Dakshinapatha trade route was controlled by them. You have the Krishna Godavari Delta. This is called the rice bowl of the south. So they cultivated a huge amount of rice in the Krishna Godavari Delta. Even now it is called the rice bowl of the south. They were basically Brahminical Hindus, but then they were tolerant towards other religions A number of viharas and chaityas were constructed by the Shatavahanas, viharas and chaityas. They are found mostly in present day Maharashtra, and Andhra. They're found mostly in Maharashtra and Andhra, and some are found in Karnataka. So a huge number of viharas and chaityas, Nasik, Karle, Bhaja, Kondana, Pitalkhora, etc. These are the various places in Maharashtra where we find viharas and chaityas, including Karle. They were all built by the Shatavahana kings. Right? So, and of course, we have the greatest of the Shatavahanas, Gautamiputra Shatakarni, who ended the rule of the Kshaharata branch of the Shakas, who took the title Kshaharata Vamsha Nirvashe Sakara. Many of the caves at Ajanta, so Ajanta in Aurangabad district of Maharashtra, there are 29 caves there. Some of the caves at Ajanta belong to the period of the Shatavahanas, right? So this is about the Shatavahana rule, Shatavahana rule. And they had their surname Shatakarni. So that was their surname. And the word Shatavahana, many historians believe, is from the word Saptavahana, the seven horses of the sun god. So the word Shatavahana is from the word Saptavahana, they say. Saptavahana. And from the time of Gautamiputra Shatakarni, 23rd king, out of the 30 kings, he was the 23rd king, Gautamiputra Shatakarni. We have the Shatavahana kings who adopted metronymics. Metronymics. What is metronymics? Kings named after their mothers. Kings named after their mothers. That is called metronymics. For example, Gautami Putra Shatakarni. Gautami Putra Shatakarni, the son of Gautami. Vashishti Putra Pulamavi, son of Vashishti. So like that. So kings were named after their mothers. And initially, historians thought probably it suggested a matriarchal and a matrilineal system. But then they came to the conclusion that it was nothing like that. It was just that women were given a lot of respect in the Shatavahana kingdom. It was not matrilineal because it was very much patriarchal, because the throne went to the eldest son. After the death of the father, the throne went to the eldest son. So it was very much patriarchal and patrilineal. It doesn't suggest matrilineal sort of a setup. It was very much patriarchal. That kings were named after their mothers show that they gave a lot of respect to their women. That's it. So this is about Shatavahana rule. Many of their administrative terminologies are copied from that of the Mauryas. Like for example, Mauryan district is called Ahara. The Shatavahana district is also called Ahara. The provinces were under a Kumara or an Aryaputra under the Mauryas, the son of a king or a royal family member. Similarly, even under the Shatavahanas, it was like that. So many of the administrative terminologies were copied by the Shatavahanas from their masters, the Mauryas. So this is the gist of the Shatavahana rule. Did you understand Shatavahanas? I gave you a broad overview of Shatavahana rule. So let us discuss the PPT. So here, Shatavahanas. So they had a long reign of 460 years. Prakrit was their official language, Paisache Prakrit, and they had many capitals we have just now seen. Some of the important kings, Simukha or Srimukha. He was the first king of the dynasty, Srimukha, first king of the dynasty, Srimukha. Then we have Shatakarni the first. He was the third king of the dynasty. And we come to know about Shatakarni the first from the Nanaghat inscription found near Nasik in Maharashtra. So Nanaghat or Nandghat inscription near Nasik talks about his achievements. So inside in the Nasik hills, we have a cave, a Buddhist cave, and inside that, in the Nanaghat area, we have found an inscription which mentions about Shatakarni the first, his father Srimukha, also his wife Naganika, etc. And the Shatavahanas, um, um, their inscriptions are written in the Prakrit language and the Brahmi script. Like the Mauryan, most of the Mauryan Ashoka edicts are in the Prakrit language and the Brahmi script. The Shatavahana inscriptions are in this language and that script, that is Prakrit language and Brahmi script. So the tradition of land grants to Brahmanas was started by the Shatavahanas. I've told you this. Then Kuntala Shatakarni, 13th king of the dynasty, Kuntala Shatakarni. So he patronized his scholars Gunadhya, who wrote Brihat Katha or Vadda Katha, and Sarvavarma, who wrote Katantya Vyakarna. So Kuntala Shatakarni. Then Hala was the 17th king of the dynasty. Hala, he wrote an erotic poem, a collection of erotic poems called Gatha Shaptashati. Gatha Shaptashati in Maharashtrian Prakrit language. It's about love making, 700 erotic poems he writes, right? Hala, 17th king of the dynasty. Then Gautami Putra Shatakarni, 23rd king of the dynasty. So the tradition of metronymic started from his period, that is kings named after their mothers. So we can get to know about Shatakarni, Gautami Putra Shatakarni, from the Nasik inscription issued by his mother, Balashri, Gautami Balashri. So he conquered major parts of present-day Maharashtra, Andhra, Telangana, Karnataka. And we have old names, for example, Ashmaka or Asaka, so identified with Bodhan in Telangana, Mulaka, the Godavari region in Maharashtra, Rishika, the Krishna region in Andhra, Vidarbha, Maharashtra, Setagiri, Nagarjunakonda in Andhra, Vaijayanti, that is Banavasi in Karnataka, and Apara on the Konkan coast. So he was a great warrior, Gautami Putra Shatakarni. Sometime back there was a Telugu movie also where Mr. Balkrishna has acted as Gautami Putra Shatakarni. I have not seen that movie. I only saw some snippets of it, and I get a lot of information from my students who give me some fantastic stories from movies. But it is not real. They have shown him as more powerful than Ashoka, I was told, but then that's not true. But he was a great warrior, no doubt about it. And Gautami Putra Shatakarni was the one who ended the Kshaharata branch of the Shakas. He killed Nahapana and Nahapana's son-in-law. You remember, you see here, Sil. Sil is son-in-law in short. Son-in-law. Don't write Sil in the exam in case they ask you. The Nahapana son-in-law, Ushabadatta, and ended the line of the Kshaharata dynasty. Therefore, he is given the title Kshaharata Vamsha Nirvashe Sakara. Kshaharata Vamsha Nirvashe Sakara, the destroyer of the Kshaharata dynasty. Right? Then we have other titles of Gautami Putra Shatakarni, Eka Brahmana. That is, he patronized the Brahminical religion. He gave donations and gifts were given to Brahmanas, and Vedic rituals and sacrifices were performed. Kshatriya Darpana Mardhana, who broke the ego of the Kshatriya race. Shaka Pa Yavana Pahalamani Sudhana, who defeated all the Shakas, Yavanas, and Pahalavas. Tri Samudrato Pitavahana, Vijakula Vardhana, Shatavahana Kula Yashat Pratishthapanakara, Raja Raja. So these are all the great titles, and as the king is coming, walking to to his throne, these titles are loudly sung and praised. So he feels very happy, the king, and then he comes. His mood is made already because of these praises, and then he is very happy, and he start the day on a fresh note, right? Eka Brahmana, etc. So they all suggest that he patronized the Vedic religion or the Brahminical religion. Then we have Vashishti Putra Sri Pulamavi. Vashishti Putra Sri Pulamavi, 24th king, who shifted the capital from Pratishtana to Navanagara, that is Dhanyakataka. So he shifted the capital from Pratishtana in Maharashtra, Paithan, to Dhanyakataka, Amaravati. Shiva Sri Satakarni married the daughter of Rudradamanika. So then Yagna Sri Satakarni. So on his coins, we have the image of a ship, which shows that a lot of maritime trade took place, international trade took place. So he was the last great king, Yagna Sri Shatakarni. And Acharya Nagarjuna was supposedly a contemporary of Yagna Sri Shatakarni. So these things you remember, please. These type of information you remember, right? Everything is not important. 14 coins. You have 14 coins. 14 is a coin made of copper, tin, and other metals. So it's a mixture of many metals, including copper and tin. So on such a coin, we have the image of a ship displayed, which shows a lot of importance was given to maritime trade. So those things you make separate note and keep it. And Acharya Nagarjuna was a contemporary of this Yagnashri Shatakarni. And Acharya Nagarjuna propagated two philosophies. He brought into existence two philosophies. One is Madhyamika Vada and Shunya Vada. Madhyamika Vada or Madhyamika Karika and Shunya Karika, Shunya Vada. That is, Shunya is wideness. So he gave the theory of wideness, like Albert Einstein, who spoke about wideness. Acharya Nagarjuna spoke about theory of wideness. for which he is called Indian Einstein. He's called Indian Einstein for that reason, who Acharya Nagarjuna. And he's also called second Tathagata, second Buddha. Tathagata is one of the titles of the Buddha. When I come to Lord Buddha, we'll talk about it. He's also called second Buddha. He wrote many Sanskrit books. Madhyamika Karika, Shunya Saptati, Shruhullekha, Pragna Paramita, Arogya Manjari, Rasaratnakara. These are all the books written by Acharya Nagarjuna. He was an expert chemist also. Acharya Nagarjuna was a great chemist, right? He was a great chemist. So he was a contemporary of Shatavahana king Yagnashri Shatakarni. Pulamavi the fourth was the last king, and on the ruins of the Shatavahana Empire, we have a number of small kingdoms which arose. The Ikshvakus ruled over present-day Andhra. Ikshvakus. Many of the caves in Ajanta belong to the Ikshvaku rulers. Many of the caves in Ajanta belong to the Ikshvaku rulers. Then Abhiras ruled over Maharashtra with Nasik as capital, and Chutus ruled over Banavasi, ruled over Karnataka with Banavasi as capital. So I told you many of the administrative terminologies of the Shatavahanas resembled that of the Mauryas. They copied many of the administrative aspects of Mauryan rule. King was assisted by a council of ministers. We have the kingdom divided into um, provinces. Provinces were called Janapada under a king, under a Yuvaraja, a prince or a king's relative called Kumara. Districts were called Aharas under an Amatya or Amacha. Grama was under a Gaulmika or a headman. And the Gaulmika, the village headman, was also the head of a small military regiment, consisting of chariots, horses, elephants, etc. There were different types of feudatories: Maharathi, Mahabhoja, Senapati. I believe the Maharathis had the power of gifting villages. They also could marry into princely families. Society was patriarchal. We have seen this. Intercaste marriages were prohibited. Varna system was in practice. Paddy cultivation was there, popular in the Krishna, Godavari, Doab, and important cities, port cities are Bharuch in Gujarat, Supara in Maharashtra. Important textile centers, that is Machilipatnam in Andhra, Paithan. You have the Paithani sari, famous Paithani sari, which is from Maharashtra. So Machilipatnam, Paithan, they were all textile centers. Trade centers were all in Maharashtra, as you can see: Paithan, Karle, Kanheri, Junnar, Bharuch, Supara, Nasik, Kalyan. They were all mostly in Maharashtra, present day Maharashtra. And Shrenis played a very important role, or guilds of merchants played a very important role in the Shatavahana kingdom, right? So coins, they showed a number of coins: gold, silver, copper, etc. And symbols found on their coins. I mentioned all these information, go through it. This is about Shatavahanas, and of course, they patronize the Amaravati School of Art. Amaravati School of Art, which is basically a Buddhist art. Gandhara and Amaravati are Buddhist. Mathura is secular. All the three religions are depicted at Mathura: Buddhism, Jainism, and Brahmanism at Mathura. So they built a number of chaityas and viharas, which are found in present day Maharashtra and Andhra. So this is about the Shatavahana rule, right? We'll take a small break, 5 minutes break, and come back. It's about Shatavahanas. Are you there with me? All of you, go through it. Any doubts, you can always mail me. You can ask me next weekend. Can we take a small 5 minutes break? Hello, 5 minutes break. So we go on till 5:25 because I started at 2:25, 3 hours. Just 5 minutes break, 5, 6 minutes break, and we'll come back. Yeah, I'm back. I hope all of you are also. Can we continue? Hello, all of you. So we have another dynasty, the Meghavarman dynasty or the Chedi dynasty. The Chedi dynasty or the Meghavarman dynasty, which ruled present-day Orissa. Now we come to know about this dynasty and its ruler. His name was Kharavela of Kalinga. So Kalinga becomes independent after the decline of the Mauryas. And we come to know about this king called Kharavela from an inscription which has been found in Orissa, in the Udayagiri hills of Orissa. The name of this inscription is the Hathi Gufa inscription. Hathi in Hindi is, as you know, elephant. Gufa is a cave. So it literally translates to elephant cave inscription. Hathi Gufa inscription. Hathi is elephant. Gufa is a cave. So elephant cave inscription. And we come to know about this king called Kharavela, who ruled Kalinga in the 2nd century BC. So this has been found in a Jain cave in the Udayagiri hills of Orissa near Bhubaneswar. So from this inscription, you can see the picture here. This is the inscription, the Hathi Gufa inscription. Many words have got damaged, in the sense it's got smudged. We cannot read that because it has got erased. From whatever we can read, we come to know the military achievements of Kharavela, the king of Kalinga, Kharavela. So what does the Hathi Gufa inscription tell us? It talks about the great military achievements of Kharavela. He's supposed to have repaired the Kalinga Nagari, which had been destroyed by floods. That was his capital, Kalinga Nagari. Right? He got the irrigation works of the Nanda era repaired. So in the irrigation canals of the Nanda era repaired. He is supposed to have defeated a combination of the Cholas, Cheras, Pandyas. He defeated the Shatavahanas. He twice invaded Patliputra. He patronized Jainism. So all these details are mentioned in the Hathi Gufa inscription of Kharavela. And he also conducted a Jain council in 161 BC to unite the Digambaras and the Shvetambaras. So you see, the Jain Sangha had got divided into Digambar and Shvetambar. So Kharavela, Shvetambar. So Kharavela wanted to unite the Jain Sangha, but this conference, which he called in 161 BC, was a failure. He could not unite the two sects of Jainism. So this is the Chedi dynasty or the Meghavarman dynasty, which we come to know through this so-called Hathi Gufa inscription. So these are the local dynasties which ruled India after the decline of the Mauryas: the Shungas, the Kanvas, the Shatavahanas, and the Chedi dynasty or the Meghavarman dynasty. Yeah, all clear? So let us go to other aspects of this chapter. Foreign trade in the post-Maurya period. I told you this period is called the mercantile age of India. India had, so according to modern historians, India had a lot of flourishing trade during this period, more of exports, less of imports, and India traded with various parts of the world. The reason being the discovery of the monsoon mechanism. Monsoon is a seasonal wind. So this mechanism was noticed by an Egyptian sailor called Hippalus in 46 AD. So you can see here on your screen, this is the arrow mark here, this way. This is the monsoon season. So April, September, you have the winds blowing towards India. And then the arrow mark, this arrow mark is the retreating monsoon. And these are the trade routes. What you see in red color outline, these are all the trade routes. India traded with West Africa, West Asia, including the Roman Empire. So these are the trade routes. Okay, these are the trade routes. This is the Red Sea route. This is the Red Sea route, right? This is the Persian Gulf route. So there were three routes or three or four routes between the west and the east. So India traded with West Africa, you can see, particularly with Ethiopia, with West Africa, West Asia, including the Roman Empire. Then she traded with Myanmar, Burma, with Southeast Asia, that is Indonesia, Malaysia, including China, and via the Indian Ocean with Sri Lanka, Maldives, Lakshadweep, etc. So India had a flourishing trade during this period, more of exports, less of imports. Um, so um, what are the various items of export? What are the areas with which India traded during this period? Let's talk about it. Trade with China. So India traded with China during this period. We have found Chinese gold coins in Mysore. In the excavations at Mysore, we have found Chinese gold coins. We used to import Chinese cutlery, that is porcelain, the cup and saucer, porcelain, and silk from China. So, silk fabrics and porcelain were imported from China. Ptolemy's geography talks about the trade routes connecting India and China. So, usually it was via Southeast Asia, Indonesia, Malaya, and then onwards to China. That was the route taken by our traders, and the Chinese also used to take that route. Then trade with Africa. So we traded with West Africa, particularly with Egypt and Ethiopia, and we sold steel utensils, steel cutlery was sold to Egypt and Abyssinia. Abyssinia is the old name for Ethiopia. Old name of Ethiopia is called Abyssinia. So we sold steel utensils to Africa, particularly Egypt and Abyssinia. Then trade with Southeast Asia. So with you can see here on your screen, we have Indonesia, Malaya. These are all called spice islands. You see, Indian traders knew that there was more spices in Indonesia than in India. Even now, more spices are there in Indonesia. Java, Sumatra, Borneo, Bantam, Malacca, they're all called spice islands. So when there was a lot of demand for spices uh, from India on the part of these Westerners, Westerners expected India to supply all their demand for spices. So our traders were very smart people. They took the order from the Europeans and told the Europeans, "You stay for some time, you be waiting, and we will supply the spices." So Indian traders will in turn ask their suppliers to supply spices from Indonesia, okay, Indonesian archipelago. So they were merchants who would go to Indonesia and pick up spices at a very cheap price and bring it to India and sell it to the Indian merchants. And the Indian merchants in turn will sell them to the Europeans. This way, Southeast Asia, particularly Indonesia, allowed India to make a lot of profits in ancient times. Therefore, in our ancient Indian literature, this area is called Suvarna Bhumi, Suvarna Bhumi, and Suvarna Dvipa, Golden Islands, Golden Lands, Suvarna Dvipa. Dvipa is Golden Islands. So, you see on your screen, so India traded with Southeast Asia. Did you understand what I said? Hello, all of you. I didn't get your question, Pooja. What's your question, Pooja? Jia says yes. So here you see, um, in ancient Indian literature, Southeast Asia was called Suvarna Bhumi or Suvarna Dvipa, Golden Islands, because those islands in Southeast Asia enabled our traders to make a huge amount of profit because plenty of spices were available in Southeast Asia, particularly Indonesia, right? And the Tamil epic Shilapatikaram tells us that spices, sandalwood, all these were being brought from Southeast Asia into India. So sandalwood spices were coming to India from Southeast Asia. So India had trade with Southeast Asia. Then we have Indo-Roman trade with the Roman Empire. You see, there was great trade between India and the Roman Empire in ancient times, and we have the Silk Route, which used to pass through Central Asia, and there was a lot of silk. Basically, Romans demanded silk, rice, porcelain from China. This Silk Road used to pass through Central Asia and the northwest portions of India. But then Central Asia was very volatile. You have a lot of intertribal conflicts going on. Therefore, the Silk Route was diverted to the northeast parts of India, and then overland they will take all those goods to western seaports of India, western seaports, and then from there they ship it to Rome. So the India got benefited from this transit trade. So what are the main demands of the Romans from India? They used to demand, of course, cotton textiles, pearls, spices. So cotton textiles came, that is muslins and calicos, they came from the Chola and Shatavahana kingdom, spices from the Kerala region, Chera kingdom, and pearls from the Pandya kingdom. So cotton textiles, spices, and pearls. These are the main demands of the Romans. And Rome, there was a lot of demand for cotton textiles of India, because cotton was, whatever cotton was made, manufactured in India during those days, was as thin as a slough of a snake, as thin as the skin of a snake. So Roman women would drape Indian cotton cloth and roam around the streets of Rome. And the men, they would peer at them because it was transparent. It's not me who's telling this. This is what historians have told us. And Pliny, one of the contemporary historians, calls upon the authorities to ban this trade with India, because Rome was losing 550 million sesterces to India. There was a drain of gold and silver coins to the tune of 550 million sesterces. So not only they are wearing, women are in Rome are wearing clothes on their bodies, but also bed sheets, bedspreads, etc., curtains. They were all made of Indian cotton textiles. So there was a lot of demand for Indian cotton textiles because of the nature of the cotton cloth manufactured in India during those days. Further, as I told you, we have the diversion of the Silk Route to India. So that also helped India getting benefited. I'm coming to that in some time. So let us look at the important ports on the west coast and the east coast of India. Now we have a book. The name, we don't have the author of this book because he has not mentioned his name. So he is an anonymous sailor of Alexandria in Egypt. So Periplus of the Erythraean Sea. He writes a book called Periplus of the Erythraean Sea. That is the full name. You can just write Periplus if you want. It is, the full name is Periplus of the Erythraean Sea. This book was written by an anonymous sailor of Alexandria in Egypt. In that book, he gives us the important seaports on the west coast and the east coast of India. Important ports on the west coast and the east coast of India. Now, are you there with me, all of you? Please raise your hands. Are you able to get across? Am I able to get across here? We have had a long day. I know you might be tired. It's not easy to sit and focus alone in your room, wherever you're sitting and studying. But I know it's a challenge. But then, are you alert? I hope it is interesting. Okay, now listen up. Gia says yes. What about others? Okay, Kavana, great. So I'll give you a break. Just hold on some time, another 1 hour, and we'll go for a half an hour break. So let me finish this chapter. Drishti, Sparsh, Hemali, Shreya. Okay, great. So let me continue. So Periplus of the Erythraean Sea, written by an anonymous sailor. Anonymous is doesn't have a name. He has not given any name. This man, whoever wrote this book, and in that book, Periplus, he gives us the important ports on the west coast as well as on the east coast of India. So on your screen, you see this is the modern map, but with the old names. So what are the names? Barigaza. He calls one port as Barigaza. So the equivalent name is Bharuch in Gujarat. So where is Barigaza? This is Barigaza here. Barigaza. Bharuch in Gujarat. This is identified with Bharuch in Gujarat. Then another port, Kalyana. This is Kalyan of Bombay. No, in near Bombay, Kalyan in Bombay. So Kalyana, where is Kalyana? Kalyan. You see here Kalyan. Then Supara, again Sopara in Maharashtra. This is Sopara in Maharashtra. Then Tindis as identified with Calicut. Tindis, where is Tindis? This is Tindis, identified with Calicut in Kerala. Musuris, that is Cranganur. This is Musuris, Cranganur, near Cochin in Kerala. A Roman settlement of traders has been found there. A settlement of Roman traders. Poduka, that is Arikamedu, Pondicherry. Poduka or Arikamedu, Pondicherry. So Poduka, this is Poduka here, Poduka, Pondicherry. A Roman settlement was found here. Masula, that is Machilipatnam in Andhra Pradesh. So Masula, this is Masalia or Masula. You can see here Masalia, Masula. Right? Then, of course, Gang, Tamralipti in Bengal. Gang, Tamralipti in Bengal. So they can ask you match the following. So be very alert. They can ask you match the following old name and the modern name. So Periplus gives us the list of these ports. So that means lot of ships used to come not only to the west coast of India, but also to the east coast of India for trading purpose. Right? So, what is the reason for this flourishing trade with India? Of course, as we have seen, monsoon mechanism discovered by Hippalus in 46 AD. And once this was discovered, a lot of ships began to sail in the monsoon season towards India. Then the diversion of the Silk Route to India. So Silk Route was diverted towards India because of the volatile political conditions of Central Asia. And by overland, you can see here, see, this is the diversion of the Silk Route. Silk Route is getting diverted like this. You can see here, it's getting diverted like this because they don't want to, they want to avoid these areas. Then they will bring all the goods here to the east coast of India, northeast from the via the northeast. Then they will transport it via land, overland to the western seaports. Okay, they will transport everything to the western seaports and via this area, Gujarat and other areas, it will be shifted to Roman Empire. So India got benefited from this transit trade. Okay, so what are the Indian exports to Rome? Sandalwood, textiles, and spices. Did you understand the second part? Okay. Did you understand the second part? So monsoon mechanism discovered by Hippalus and then diversion of the Silk Route to India. Pooja, did you understand? Okay. So let me move on. So the silk summarize. So I said this period is also called the mercantile age of India by the modern historians because India had trade, flourishing trade with various parts of the world. So she traded with West Asia, West Africa, Roman Empire, Southeast Asia, China, including Myanmar, and then Sri Lanka, Maldives, Lakshadweep, etc. So a lot of India was earning a lot of profits, more of exports, less of imports. So we have looked at the important items of trade. What are the various goods sold by India or procured, sold by India to various countries? What are the important ports on the west coast and the east coast of India? So we have seen all these things. This is called the mercantile age of India, right? Did you understand? The last part is what is the reason for the flourishing trade? One is, of course, the discovery of the monsoon mechanism discovered by Hippalus, an Egyptian Greek sailor in 46 AD. So winds are blowing towards India. When does it bring rain, Puja, to the monsoon hits the coast of India and it brings rain where first, according to the Met Office, you know, when is the date for the arrival of the monsoon? Generally, Puja, anybody here? 1st June with Mithali, very good. So we expect the monsoon around 1st June, right? So and a lot of calculations are done whether we're going to get a good monsoon or a deficit monsoon, etc. And this is a country dependent on monsoon, and it is a seasonal wind. It is blowing towards India. So in the monsoon season, many ships began to come to India, though it was the rainy season, because it was easy to travel in the monsoon season. Okay. And then in the retreating monsoon season, when the winds are blowing in an opposite direction, they will sail back with all the goods which they have bought in India, particularly spices and cotton textiles. Pooja, did you understand? So this is what it is. And of course, the diversion of the Silk Route to India. You see here, I showed you the Silk Route used to pass through northwest portions of India, Central Asia, and northwest portions of India, but it was forced to be diverted to the northeast because of the volatile political conditions in Central Asia, intertribal conflicts going on. So it was not safe. They will loot all those goods. They will loot all the traders who are having cash in their hand. They have money in their hand because they're all business people. They're carrying some amount of money on their person. So it was difficult to safeguard those goods. Though those goods were diverted to the northeast portions of India, taken over land. You can see here they are taken over land like this, uh, and then to the western seaports, and then they are shipped across the Arabian Sea via the Persian Gulf or the Red Sea into Europe. So this is called transit trade, which India got benefited. Are you there with me, Pooja? Right. So this is about the mercantile age of India. Then talk about the religious conditions during this period. So you all know we have the Shungas, Kanvas, Shatavahanas promoting the Vedic religion or the Brahminical religion. So earlier under the Mauryas, the Vedic religion had received a setback. Now you have revival of the Vedic religion, idol worship. Vedic religion got revived. Then we have the two major schisms in the Buddhist religion. So this is the Hinayana Mahayana. So Hinayana Mahayana. So Buddhist religion got divided into Hinayana and Mahayana during the post-Maurya period in the fourth council at the time of Kanishka and Kashmir. You have the final division in the Buddhist Sangha into Hinayana, Mahayana. Mahayanists began to worship idols of the Buddha. So they introduced idol worship of the Buddha, right? So this is another thing. Then Bhagavatism emerged as a new religion. That is worship of Krishna. Bhagavatism is nothing but the worship of Krishna. So this became pretty popular. The concept of bhakti came into existence. That is unadulterated devotion to a chosen deity. Bhakti is pure devotion without any selfish motive, pure devotion to a chosen deity. Please help me pass my exam. I'll break 10 coconuts. All that is bribing God. Here, bhakti is pure devotion without any selfish motive. You're praying to God. You're not asking anything in return. And because you know that if you win the grace of God, he or she will give you whatever you want. So that is Bhagavatism, worship of Krishna. It opposed rituals, emphasized on bhakti. And we have something called the Pancharatra cult, which arose during this period. Pancharatra cult literally means 5 nights. Pancharatra, 5 nights. This is nothing but the worship of Krishna and the 4 Yadava heroes. Worship of Krishna and the 4 Yadava heroes. That is called Pancharatra cult. Worship of Krishna with the 4 Yadava heroes. Yadava heroes. So who are the 4 Yadava heroes? Totally 5 heroes. One is Vasudeva Krishna. So Vasudeva Krishna, right? Then second is Sankarshana, Vyuha Sankarshana, the elder brother of Krishna, Balarama. So he is the elder brother, so worship Balaram or Sankarshana. Then Samba, the son of Krishna, born to Jambavati. So son of Krishna and Jambavati is Samba, so worship Samba. Pradyumna, the son of Krishna, born to Rukmini. So Krishna and Rukmini's son, Pradyumna. And Aniruddha, the grandson of Krishna and the son of Pradyumna, Aniruddha. So when you worship all these 5 deities, it is called Pancharatra cult. Vasudeva Krishna, Balarama, the elder brother of Krishna, Samba, the son of Krishna, born to Krishna and Jambavati, Pradyumna, the son of Krishna and Rukmini, and Aniruddha, the son of Pradyumna and the grandson of Krishna. Hello, are you there with me? So you have to worship Krishna and his family members. That's called Pancharatra cult. This was started by Shandilya, sage Shandilya. Sage Shandilya began the Pancharatra cult. Shandilya. So he was the one who began this cult. Drishti, it is there in the PPT. When you worship Krishna and the 4 Yadava heroes, it is called Pancharatra cult. Pancharatra cult was begun by sage Shandilya. So who are the heroes who are worshipped? Vasudeva Krishna, Balarama, the elder brother of Krishna, Samba, son of Krishna by Jambavati, one wife of Krishna, and Pradyumna, son of Krishna by Rukmini, another wife of Krishna is Rukmini, and Aniruddha is the son of Pradyumna and the grandson of Krishna. Right? And we have the earliest inscriptional evidence of the worship of Krishna, the Besnaga pillar inscription, which was installed by Heliodorus, an ambassador of Greek king Antialcidas, to the court of Bhagabhadra Kasipura, the 6th king of the Shungas. So this is the earliest inscriptional evidence of the worship of Krishna, the Besnagar inscription. And so many foreigners took to the worship of Krishna. They were attracted to the Bhagavata religion. This is about, we have discussed the foreign tribes, that is the Indo-Greeks, the Shakas, the Parthians, and the Kushanas. Then we came to the Sungas, Kanuvas, Shatavahanas, Megavarman dynasty. Then we have discussed the trade, the important aspects of trade of this period. right? And of course, religious conditions during this period. Now let us come to Sangam age. Let us come to Sangam age. Before that, we come to what is called megalithic culture, megalithic burials, then Sangam age. We'll talk about Sangam age in some time. So let us talk about megalithic culture. Are you there with me, all of you? Puja, Meghavarman dynasty, I told you, it is also called Chedi dynasty. The greatest of the Chedi kings was Kharavela. So Kalinga became independent after the end of the Mauryan rule. Kalinga had been conquered by the Mauryas. Ashoka had conquered Kalinga, isn't it? So Kalinga became independent, and we come to know about this Kalinga king called Kharavela from the Hathi Gufa inscription. In Orissa near Bhubaneswar, in the Udayagiri hills, we have a cave temple of the Jains. Inside that cave temple, we have found an inscription. It is called Hathi Gufa inscription. From that inscription, we come to know the military achievements of Kharavela, the Jain king of Kalinga. So this is about Meghavarman dynasty. So the Chedi dynasty is also called Meghavarman dynasty and vice versa. Yeah, Puja, are you clear? Okay. So let us come to megalithic culture. So how are you finding ancient India? See, ancient India is on the huger side. Medieval India is more masala, You love medieval India, particularly later medieval India and some of the earlier parts of medieval India also, Cholas and all that. You will like it because a lot of masala is there. What about ancient India? How are you finding it? Is it interesting or is it boring? I know it is a mixture of many things, but then how are you finding it? Can I ask you that question, all of you? Boring, okay. Lot of facts, okay. It is interesting, Gia says, but many new terms. So that's why I told you, you try to make notes, cue cards, wherever there's factual information. Himali says, yes, it is interesting like a story. Okay, so try to listen it like a story. I try to present it like a story. Huge, yeah, syllabus is of course huge, Panyala. So much of facts and huge syllabus. So that's how it is, ancient India. Um, So, see, the reference point is your previous year question papers. Previous year question papers, you come to know what type of questions are asked by the UPSC. So everything is not important. At least do a broad reading, thorough broad reading, so that you can eliminate. You will be in a better position to eliminate, right, and find out the answer. Because 1 mark this side and that side, and you are either in the game or you're out of the game, and you have to wait for 1 more year for the next notification. Prelims is important to the extent that you qualify for the mains, and then the prelims automatically loses its importance. But until you qualify for the mains by clearing the prelims, your prelims is a very important segment of the examination. So I know you're going through all these emotions. I know there are some topics which are boring, but that's how the syllabus is. So you have to go through it. I can't help it, but you have to go through it. But I have given you the best of information. Whatever PPTs have been shared with you are with you will give you more than a foundation. It is more than a foundation. I would say at least 80% of the syllabus is covered. Rest 15-20%. If you read one textbook, you should be able to make up for it. And then, of course, current affairs. You keep a track of current affairs, Indian Express, Hindu magazines, our own magazine, Byju's magazine, current affairs. Then supplement your efforts with those magazines, and that should be done. Atish, okay, thank you, Atish. We'll come back here. How to eliminate? Yeah, how to eliminate is when you read broadly, you'll be able to eliminate, right? So we'll come back here. Megalithic culture. So what is megalithic culture? So megalithic. Megalithic. Mega is what? Large. Mega is large, and lithic is stone. So literally translates to large Stone Age culture. Literally translates to what? Large Stone Age culture. Now listen up. In South India, particularly Andhra, present-day Andhra, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, parts of Kerala, parts of Uttar Pradesh, even Sri Lanka, we have found some burials. You see, imagine this is a burial. Okay, we have found some burials. Of course, the dead body has vanished in the sense that it has disintegrated and become part of the soil. So when such graves were dug up, which earlier contained a dead body, what we notice is we have found pots. Okay, we have found pots. So imagine these are the pots of different sizes, and these pots are painted black or red. They are painted black or red, and along with these pots, we have found weapons of war and hunting weapons. So war weapons, hunting and fishing weapons, hunting and fishing weapons have been found along with war weapons. Very few agricultural tools have been found. Very few agricultural tools have been found. So from this, we can come to know, or we can reconstruct the material culture of the people of this particular period. So here, please understand, along with these grave goods, these are called grave goods. So the belief was, if the person is reborn again, he will require all these things: pots, weapons of war, hunting, fishing, so that he can survive, kill somebody, kill animal and survive, kill a fish and survive, etc. So it suggests a hunting and a fishing economy. From the type of weapons, iron weapons, they are all made of iron, mind you, iron tools and implements and weapons of war. So it suggests a hunting and a fishing economy. And the people here did not practice agriculture because hardly any agricultural tools have been found. Now, when somebody died in the south, understand here, when somebody died, a grave was dug up, the dead body was placed in the grave. Imagine this is a dead body. Then the pit was covered. The pit was covered with mud and stones were placed. You see, stones were placed like this. Then a huge capstone like this was placed on the grave. So this is called, pit circle grave. So this is one type of grave, urn grave. So here, when somebody died, the dead body was burnt, right, and the ashes were collected in a pot or an urn, and the pot was buried. So this is the grave. The pot was buried. Imagine this is the pot, right, and then it was covered in mud. So this covered in mud, right? It's covered in mud. Then stones were arranged like this all around the grave, and a capstone was put on this. So there are different types of burials found in South India, particularly Andhra, Tamil Nadu, parts of Karnataka, Kerala, southern Uttar Pradesh, and parts of Sri Lanka also. This is called megalithic culture, large Stone Age culture. So we'll come back here. You can see here the pictures here. This is the distribution of the graves. Just hold on. So they're called dolmens. Another word for this large Stone Age culture is called dolmens. They're in the form of sepulchre. They're sepulchral in nature. Sepulchral means sepulchral. Sepulchral. It means related to interment, that is burials. Right? They have been found in eastern Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, Kerala, hilly areas of southern UP, Sri Lanka. So along with the dead, people place pots, polished black and red ware, iron implements, in the belief that they may be used by the dead in the next world. Right? We have found more fighting and hunting weapons when compared to agricultural tools. So this shows megaliths did not practice advanced form of agriculture. So this is the distribution of the megalithic sites here in South India. This is where we have found. So let us look at the various types of burials. Types of megalithic burials. Urn burial. As I told you, bones of a dead person were collected in a pot or an urn. The pot was buried in a pit, usually surrounded by a circle of stones and covered by a flat stone called a capstone, like this, what you see in your picture. So this is called urn burial. Then we have pit circle grave. What is pit circle grave? An open pit was dug up like this, as you can see. The dead body was placed on a wooden board like this. This is the dead body. And then you have a circle of stones. You see, circle of stones was placed around the grave. Okay, this is called pit circle grave. Pit circle grave, right? Then we have cyst grave. So this is like an enclosed tomb. It was made of granite slabs and surrounded by a circle of stones, of course, and covered by a flat stone. So the body was placed between two stones like this here, right? And you have two stones on top. You have two stones down also, And on top, you have a capstone placed. You can see here, all these are schist graves. So from the type of goods found in those graves, pots, black and red polished pots, and of course, iron implements, mostly to do with weapons of war and hunting weapons, fishing weapons, we come to know that they had more of a fishing and a hunting economy. Hardly they practice any agriculture. And the Cholas, Cheras, Pandyas were in the last stages. They were in the last stage of the megalithic age. Okay, so this is I found in the newspaper. This particular picture you see on your screen, slab supported dolmens from Hirebenakal. This is from Gangavati Taluk, Koppal district of Karnataka, on the left bank of the river Tungabhadra. So we have found this in a place called Hirebenakal in Karnataka. Right? So Cholas, Cheras, Pandyas were in the late megalithic phase. That is, the megalithic phase was slowly coming to an end. So what is the explanation given by historians as regards the beginning of civilized communities in the south, the beginning of civilization in the south? Number one is megalithic people moved from upland areas to fertile river basins. So they were living in hilly areas, in the upland hilly areas, right? And they had a hunting and a fishing economy. Slowly they moved towards fertile river basins and they took to agriculture. So this is number one. Number two is coming of Jain and Buddhist missionaries. So they came to propagate Buddhism and Jainism, missionaries from the north, and they brought they brought the North Indian material culture to the south. So this is another explanation. And third is, of course, Roman contacts. So Romans came to South India to trade, to pick up spices and cotton textiles, and they also brought ideas of civilization to the people of the south. But then we have certain sites which have been discovered of late in the south. This is what is there in the standard history books as regards the origin of civilization in the south. But then we have sites like Kiladi. So some years back in Tamil Nadu, we have a site called Kiladi, which was discovered, um, and um, um, and then it shows that there was a flourishing civilization along with the Harappan civilization in Kiladi. And many of the Tamil historians belonging to Tamil Nadu, have always told us that we all already had a flourishing civilization here in the deep south. It is not that civilization came to the south from the north. We already had a parallel civilization. And the best example is Kiladi. I have put a note here. I'll just go there so that I'll not keep you guessing what I'm talking about. Um, just hold on. So you can see here on your screen, Kiladi. So this has been found near Madurai in Tamil Nadu, Kiladi. So it is a small village in the Shivaganga district of Tamil Nadu. Um, so here we have excavations going on, and we find that we have civilization existing here in the deep south as far as 2,500 years back, right? And Kirati also has led to excavations in nearby villages like Kondagai, Agaram, Manalur, etc. So this was in the newspaper. I picked it up from one of the newspapers, either Indian Express or Hindu newspaper. Um, so here you can see here they used to have a thriving textile industry in Kiradi. So the Archaeological Survey of India and later the Tamil Nadu Archaeological Department found large brick structures here where textiles were made. Evidence of textile industry is there from this particular trenches. So it has all the traces of a civilization, all the examples of a civilization. They had a weaving industry. There was evidence of trade, of civilization, of burial practices, literacy. So it satisfies it. So from this we come to know that as early as 6,600 BC itself, people you have evidence of Tamil script. So they knew how to read and write. So from this we come to know that civilization did not come from north to the south. Already you have parallel civilizations existing in the south. So when more excavations take place, more evidence is presented to us, we'll be able to know more about places like Kiladi, the civilization called Kiladi. Right. So this is what I was telling. So there is difference of opinion among scholars about this explanation given that civilization came to the south from the north. Are you there with me, all of you? Hello. So can I move on? So go through that note on Sikiladi. You'll get some points. You keep that in. Be aware of that. Now, so here let us talk about Sangam literature. What is the Sangam literature? Now, what is Sangam? Sangam in geography. Sangam is a confluence of rivers. In geography, it is a confluence of rivers. It's a confluence of rivers in geography. But in the context of history, particularly South Indian history, it is a parliament of letters. It was a parliament. It was an academy, a parliament or an academy, which met at Madurai. So it met at Madurai, the capital of the Pandyas. So you have scholars, poets, literators, playwrights, novelists, essay writers, etc. They all joined together at Madurai under the auspices of the Pandyan king in his court, and the body of literature which has been brought out, which was culled out by the scholars, poets, philosophers, etc., has come to be known as a Sangam literature. So 3 Sangams are supposed to have taken place. Sangam means academy or parliament. So 3 Sangams are supposed to have taken place. The first Sangam, I believe, was attended by gods and legendary sages. So gods and legendary sages attended the first Sangam, and from the first Sangam, we do not have any works available. From the second Sangam, we have only one book which has come down to us. That is the Tolkappiyam. Tolkappiyam, written by Tolkappiyar. So please understand, these are Tamil names. People from North India who are of Hindi medium or any other medium other than South Indian languages, they might have a nightmare. So they'll get nightmare when they try to read these words. I know that as a teacher of history, I know that. So what you do is you try to make sandhi. Sandhi kijiye, divide the words into 2 or 3 parts and try to remember them, where whatever is relevant to be remembered. You cannot brush it off saying that it's difficult to pronounce, because questions are asked in the prelims as well as the mains. They might ask you a short note on Sangam literature. So you have to write some answers, some words which are Tamil words. The people who speak Dravidian languages, somewhere, it is not so difficult to remember these words. But then people who don't find it difficult. So best way is to divide the words into 2 or 3 parts and then try to remember. So Tolkappiyam is the only book which has come down to us from the second Sangam. It is a book on grammar written by Tolkappiyar, right? And most of the books which have come down to us, most of the works which have come down to us is from the third Sangam. So under the auspices of the Pandyan king, an academy or a parliament took place in his court, which was attended by scholars, poets, literators, novelists, etc. And the body of literature which has come down to us is known as Sangam literature. Are you there with me, all of you? Are you there with me? Please raise your hands if you have understood so that I can go further. Okay, Satyanarayana says yes. Okay. Now you see, the main theme of the Sangam literature was wars between the Cholas, Cheras, and the Pandyas. So these are the 3 Tamil kingdoms: Cholas, Cheras, Pandyas. Main theme is wars. Sangam literature is divided into Agam and Puram. Agam means love. Agam means love, everything to do with emotions. And Puram means war. So it is mainly divided into Agam and Puram, with love and emotions and war. And the main theme is wars between the 3 Tamil kingdoms. But apart from these wars, from the Sangam literature, we come to know a lot about the political, social, economic, and religious life of the Deep South? What was the polity, society, economy, and religion of the Deep South, including trade and commerce? As part of economy, we'll also come to know about trade and commerce. So this is called Sangam literature, right? It is in Tamil language, right? It is in Tamil language. So you see here the main on a screen, earliest Tamil literature is called Sangam literature because it was standardized by an academy or Sangam of scholars and poets maintained by the Pandya rulers at Madurai. The Sangam literature was finally compiled in 6th century AD, circa 6th century AD. Now, the main theme is wars between these three kingdoms, Cholas, Cheras, Pandyas. So let us look at them in the map. So on your screen, you can see these are the Cholas who ruled this area, Cholas, Pandyas, and Cheras. So they always were fighting against each other. These are the Sangam Cholas, Sangam Pandyas, and Sangam Cheras. So don't confuse these Pandyas and Cholas with the later imperial Cholas or the later Pandyas. There's no connection between the Sangam Cholas and the later Cholas. So we'll come back here. So main theme is wars between these three dynasties. Sangam literature is divided into 5 sections. Early books, early works, this is number 1. 8 anthologies. What is an anthology? Anthology is a collection of poems. Anthology means collection of poems. So 8 anthologies. Ettut Togai. Then 10 short poems or idylls. Short poems are called idylls. Not idli, it's idylls. Short poems are idylls. Pattu Paata. Then 18 minor works. Padinenkil Kanakku. 18 minor works, 18 small books, and 5 epics. So these together form what is known as Sangam literature. Are you there with me, all of you? Can I move on? Okay. So here, let us discuss the Sangam literature. I have made a chart for our convenience on your screen. Chart, remember the chart. Tolkappiyam, written by Tolkappiyar. Tolkappiyam. Okay, Tolkappiyam, written by Tolkappiyar. This is the earliest text, deals with grammar, right? Then Madurai Kanji, written by Mangudi Marudan. It describes the city of Kaveri Pattanam, and it is the most important source on trade and commerce in the Deep South. This particular book called Madurai Kanji, written by Mangudi Marudan. Then Murugar Ruppadai, written by Nakkirar. So this is a song in praise of Muruga, most powerful god of the Deep South. Now please understand, Murugan, so if you go to Tamil Nadu, you get Murugan idli shops everywhere. So everywhere you get Murugan idli shop. Muruga is the god of the Tamils. He was localized to Tamil Nadu. And later, Muruga was introduced in North India. Worship of Muruga was introduced in North India by Kumar Gupta, one of the Gupta kings. Kumar Gupta is a person who built an Nalanda University. So he introduced the worship of Kumara or Muruga in North India. And what is the eldest son of Shiva called? Kartike. No, he's called Kartike or Muruga or Skanda or Seon. Like that, he has got many names. Subramanya, like that. He has got many names, right? So, just as Ayyappa is a god localized to a part of Kerala. Ayyappa season has started. All of you know this. Ayyappa. So, no, Ayyappa season has started. It has already got over, I suppose. So, here you have Ayyappa as a god localized to Kerala, part of Kerala. Then slowly he has become world famous. So, you have the annual pilgrimage undertaken by people to the shrine of Shabarimala in Kerala. And slowly, when all these VIPs began to go there, it has become a world world famous god. He became a world famous god. Similarly, Muruga was a god localized to the Tamils. Right? Did you get me? I'm hope I'm able to connect here. So most powerful god of the deep south, Muruga. Then Palamoli by Mundurai Arayyar. It deals with the day-to-day rituals of Brahmins. Palamoli by Mundurai Arayyar. Tirukkural by Tiruvalluvar. So here, this is called the Bible of Sangam literature, Tirukkural. It is full of proverbs. Theme is ethics, morals, and values. So the Prime Minister also, during Doklam conflict with the Chinese, the Prime Minister had gone to the front and he quoted a verse from the Tirukkural written by Tiruvalluvar. So you have one of the great poets of the Tamils, Tiruvalluvar. So in Chennai, you have Valluvar Kottam in honor of Tiruvalluvar, a place called Valluvar Kottam. All right. So Tirukkural. Hello, are you there with me? All of you. Today you seem to be dull. What's happening on the other end? Am I able to get across? No response from that side. All of you. Gia is okay. Some are regularly messaging. What about others? Okay, Kola. Okay, great. Now let us talk about the epics of the Tamils. I'll tell you a story now. The Shilapadigaram. So there are epics, the Tamils also had their own epics. Ramayana, Mahabharata, they were all epics written in North India. And later they spread all over the country and also beyond India. But the Tamils had their own epic. One is the famous Shilapatikaram. So Shilapatikaram. So let us talk about Shilapatikaram. Shilapatikaram or Padikaram, written by Illango Vadigal. Illango Vadigal or Vadigal. He was the one who wrote this epic. So shall I tell you a story? This is the story of the Shilapadigaram. It is related to the subject. If you will remember better, Shilapadigaram, the story goes like this. There was a merchant. His name was Kovalan. So there was a merchant called Kovalan, and he had a wife called Kannagi. Okay, he had a wife called Kannagi, and husband and wife were very happily living. He was a merchant. He was a merchant from Puhar, that is Kaveri Pattanam. So from the town of Kaveri Pattanam, even now it is there in the Kumbakonam district of Tamil Nadu. Near Kumbakonam, we have the small place called Puhar or Kaveri Pattanam. So Roman ships used to frequent there. We'll come to that. Don't mind. Doesn't matter. So here, Kovalan was from Kaveri Pattanam. He was a merchant, and his wife was Kannagi. Now everything was going smooth until something happened. Kovalan fell in love with a Devadasi called Madhavi. So she was a Devadasi. Devadasi is a prostitute. Devadasi, a girl who is dedicated to the temple, and in course of time, the rich and the mighty began exploiting that girl. And Madhavi was a Devadasi, a very good-looking, beautiful Devadasi. And Kovalan began to spend most of his time and money on Madhavi, neglecting his wife Kannagi. Okay, so everything was going smooth in their marriage until he fell in love with Madhavi. And from Madhavi, he also gets a daughter, who is Kovalan. Who was the daughter born to Madhavi and Kovalan? Mani Megalai. Mani Mekalai. The daughter born to Madhavi and Kovalan. So Kannagi is neglected by Kovalan, and he is spending all his time and money on Madhavi, and he also gets a daughter from her by name Mani Mekalai. Now Kovalan has given away all his wealth to Madhavi, including whatever jewels he had on his body, ring and necklace, etc., etc. And then his business fails. He's not able to earn money because he's spending most of his time with Madhavi, and she loses interest in him because he's not bringing any money, and she was giving him sexual pleasure because he was putting money on her, and after all, she was a prostitute. So she loses interest in Kovalan because he is not getting any money more to give her. So she kicks him out. So Madhavi loses interest in Kovalan and she kicks him out. So Kovalan comes back to his wife Kannagi, and then he tells, "Please forgive me, darling. I have ill-treated you, all these years. I'm very, very sorry for that." So Kannagi is the ideal Indian wife, according to this epic, So she forgives her husband, and she tells her husband, "Let us get away from this place. Let us get away from this Kaveri Pattanam and start our second innings in a new city. Let us start our life afresh in a new city." So Kovalan and Kannagi abandon Kaveri Pattanam. They leave Kaveri Pattanam and they come to Madurai, the capital of the Pandyas. Madurai. They come to Madurai, the capital of the Pandyas. Madurai. And who is the king of the Pandyas? So Pandyas were ruling Madurai, Pandyan dynasty. Aryapadai Nedunjalian. So Aryapadai Nedunjalian was the I'll write A Nedunjalian. Nedunjalian. He was the king of the Pandyas. Aryapadai Nedunjalian. So they reach Madurai. Kovalan has no money on his body, no jewels, no cash, nothing. And his wife, Kannagi, has a pair of anklets. Shilapadigaram, here she has a pair of anklets, which her parents had given her at the time of her marriage with this idiot. So she has a pair of anklets on her legs. So she removes one anklet, gives it to her husband, Kovalan, and tells him, "You go to the market, sell this anklet, you will get a lot of money. With that money, you spend a little bit of that money to buy provisions, rice, dal, etc., vegetables. You bring all that home. I will cook a nice gruel. I'll make a nice meal, and then we'll have food." So he says, "Okay." So he takes one of the anklet of his wife given by her, and he's gone to the market to sell it. So he's trying to sell his wife's anklet. Unfortunately, around the same time, what would have happened, I believe, the queen of the Pandyas, that is the queen of Aryapadai Nedunjalian, would have lost her favorite anklet in the palace. Somebody has robbed it. That is the conclusion. Some theft has happened. Somebody has been bold enough to rob the queen's anklet. So, and it is her favorite anklet. The queen has lost her peace of mind. So, copies of the painting of the anklet are made, the queen's anklet, how that anklet looked like. So painting of that queen's anklets are made, copies are made, and it is distributed to the spies and the soldiers. And they have been instructed by the king to keep an eye on a potential thief who might be wanting to sell away the queen's anklet in the market. So the spies have spread around in the market, including the soldiers, and they are keeping an eye on somebody who might be wanting to sell the queen's anklet, the thief. And here he is holding his wife's anklet, Kovalan, and is trying to sell it. And one of the spies notices that anklet, and it looked very similar to the queen's anklet. He's got a copy of the queen's anklet, a painting of the queen's anklet. So he's arrested. The spy informs the soldiers. So immediately Kovalan is arrested and is brought before the king. And the king notices the anklet in the hand of Kovalan. He takes that anklet and he sees, and he immediately orders the execution of Kovalan. So Kovalan is executed on the orders of the king, Aryapadai Nedunjalian. Now, Kannagi comes to know that soldiers the king's soldiers had taken away his husband to the palace, and he's accused of the theft of the queen's anklet. So she takes her other anklet and runs to the palace, and then she shows that anklet to the king. And then she asks for justice. She says, "This anklet was given at the time of my marriage to my husband. It has nothing to do with the queen's anklet." Then now the king observes the anklet. He observes both the anklet. Everything was ditto. Everything about those anklets were the same as the queen's anklet, except the color of the stones. Slightly, the color of the stones were different. The king realizes the mistake he had made. He had punished and executed an innocent man, and the king starts lamenting. He starts lamenting. He's feeling guilty, and he starts cursing himself that on his orders, innocent man had been killed. So Kannagi is wrath with anger. So she has become a widow for nothing. So she's supposed to have torn her breasts. According to this epic, she plucked her breasts, she tore up her breasts, and then she threw it on the city of Madurai. She cursed the city of Madurai, which burned down. King Medunjalian also died. Later, Kannagi was worshipped as the ideal wife. There was a cult around her which came into existence that is called Pattini cult. Pattini cult. This is the cult which was begun around the worship of Kannagi. That is, agar joru ho to aise ho, Kannagi ki taraf. That like Kannagi ki taraf. That is, if there be a wife, she should be like Kannagi. So that is called Pattini cult. The worship of Kannagi as the ideal wife. And we have this Bhagavati temple in Thiruvananthapuram, Kerala, Trivandrum or Thiruvananthapuram. This Bhagavati temple, just as we have the Shabarimala festival where men go, women, very young girls or very old women can go to the Shabarimala temple. But women who are adults, they cannot go. They're not allowed according to rules of that temple. Similarly, here we have a temple in Kerala called Bhagavati Temple where only women are allowed, not the men. So women, thousands and lakhs of women go to the Bhagavati Temple and they cook sweet gruel there, and they make offering. They cook it on the streets. So everybody has a small chula on the street and they get some vessels and then they make a sweet dish to that goddess. And that goddess is supposedly none other than Kannagi. That's a belief among the people. So remember these type of things. It'll be the current affairs. You can relate it to the traditional news. This is Shila Padigaram, the jeweled anklet. In English, it translates to the jeweled anklet. Jeweled anklet, written by Illango Vadigal, the grandson of Karikala Chola. So this is a Shila Padigaram. Right? Did you get the story there? Hello? Story. Shilapatikaram, the jeweled anklet, written by Illango Vadigal, grandson of Karikala Chola. So the hero is Kovalan, the hero is Kannagi, and the worship of Kannagi is called Pattini cult. Then we have the second story, Mani Mekalai. Mani Mekalai. Who's Mani Mekalai? Who's Mani Mekalai? The daughter born to Kovalan and Madhavi. Very good, Jia. So she is the daughter born to Kovalan and Madhavi. I believe she grows up to a very beautiful girl. And a prince is behind her. He wants to marry her. His name was Prince Udaya Kumaran. Prince Udaya Kumaran wants to marry Mani Megalai, but she is not interested in this prince. But this fellow is eating her brain, eating her head. I want to marry you, say yes to me, etc. But she's not interested. Ultimately, he eats her head so much that she decides to become a Buddhist nun. So she joins the Sangha and she becomes a Buddhist nun. She shaves off her head, wears yellow robes, and becomes a Buddhist nun. So this particular story is written by Satyanar. It talks about the development of the spread of Buddhism in the Deep South. The spread of Buddhism in the Deep South. So written by Sattalai Satyanar. Mani Megalai, written by Sattalai Satyanar. Then the third story epic is Shivaga Sindamani or Jivaga Sindamani, written by Tirutakkadevar. This talks about the popularity of Jainism in the Deep South. The popularity of Jainism in the Deep South. So this is a story, something like Bahubali Gomateshwara. So there was a Superman called Jivaga or Shivaga. So he's very strong he was. So he defeated everybody on this earth. But then after having defeated everybody, there was still a void in his heart and mind. He felt that all this is useless. So he gave up everything. He became a Jain monk. He became a Digambar monk. So Shivaga Sindamani, written by Tirutakkadevar. It talks about the popularity of Jainism in the Deep South. Then Kuntalakechi, written by Natakutanar. This is the story of a couple who fall in love with each other. They get married. Then the wife loses interest in the husband. Then she plots the murder of her husband, and then she regrets that she murdered her husband, and ultimately there is, she discovers religion. She discovers peace in religion. So this is the story, Kuntalakechi, written by Natakutanar. And lastly, Valayapati, written by an unknown Tamil Pulavar, talks about Jain principles and doctrines. These are the 5 epics of the Tamils. Are you there with me? The 5 epics of the Tamils, Chilapatikaram, Shivaga Sintamani, and Valayapati were written by Tamil Jains. I've given the note here, you can go through. Mani Megalai, Kuntalakesi were written by Buddhists. Right? This is the epics of the Tamils. Then we come to the conventional history, Cholas, Cheras, Pandyas. So let us talk about them. The Pandyas. The Pandyas ruled from Madurai as their capital. Their emblem was the fish. Fish. So Pandyas were first mentioned by Megasthenes. Their kingdom was famous for pearls. Their capital was Madurai on the banks of the Vaigai River. So Vaigai River, it's on the bank of the Vaigai River. Um, then the Pandyan king sent emissaries to Augustus Caesar of Rome, and also received one from him. So we have diplomatic and commercial contacts of the Pandyas with the Romans. So Augustus Caesar of Rome received an ambassador from the Pandyan king, and Augustus Caesar also sent an ambassador to the Pandyan king. We have evidence, archaeological and literary evidences are there. The greatest king was, of course, Nedun Cherian, who performed an Ashwamedha sacrifice, Nedun Cherian, and it was King Aryapadai Kadanta Nedun Cherian, another king called Aryapadai Kadanta Nedun Cherian, who ordered the execution of Kolan. And Kannagi cursed the city of Madurai, which burned down to death, after her curse. No? So this is about the Pandyas. Then we come to the Cholas. The Cholas had tiger as their emblem. Their capital was Urayur. So their capital was Urayur. Second capital was Kaveri Pattanam or Puhar. Their kingdom was called Cholamandalam, famous for cotton trade. Urayur was. Their main port was Kaveri Pattanam. So Ilara was the first king to conquer Sri Lanka. So he was the first king of India to conquer Sri Lanka, Ilara. And the greatest was Karikala, the man with a charred leg. Karikala, the way his leg was charred, it was burnt in a war. So therefore called Karikala, the man with a charred leg. And he was the one who built a dam on the river Kaveri. And the remnants of the dam are supposed to be the Kallanai Dam or the Grand Achkat at Sri Lanka. Even now, the remnants of the dam are existing, supposedly. So Karikala Chola, right? He was the greatest of the early Chola kings. And Ilara conquered Sri Lanka. And the capital was Urayur, second capital, Kaveri Pattanam. And Urayur was famous for cotton trade. So remember these points. Then we come to the Cheras, the ruled over present Kerala region. Their emblem was the bow and the arrow, bow. Their capital was Vanji. Main port was Muziris or Kranganur and Tondai. The greatest was Senguttavan. The greatest king was Senguttavan, who started the Pattini cult. The worship of Kannagi as the ideal wife. So he is supposed to have brought this green emerald stone from Sri Lanka, and the idol of Kannagi was carved out of this green emerald stone, which was brought from Sri Lanka. So it was started by this Chera king called Senguttavan, the Pattini cult. That is the goddess of chastity, Kannagi. So other supplementary points was are as follows. The king, uh, he was a center of administration called by various names: Ko, Manna, Vendan, Koravan, Iraivan. These are the various names by which the king was called. Avai was the court of the crowned monarch. He was assisted by officers like Amaichar, ministers. Purohitar was the Purohita. Dutar were envoys, that is messengers. Senapatiyar was a Senapati. Orar were spies. So these are all Tamil names. Be careful. Just revise them just in case. Then kingdom was divided into provinces called Mandalam. So it was like this. Province called Mandalam. District called Nadu. Town called Ur. Big village was Perur. Small village was Shirur. Pattanam was a coastal town. Puhar were harbor areas. Cheri, suburb of a town, outskirts of a town called Cheri. So main source of income was a land tax called Karai. Tribute was paid by feudatories. That was called Irai. Tribute paid by feudatories. Ulgu was the custom duties. Custom duties imposed on merchants who engaged in foreign trade. Iravu was extra demand or forced gift. Varayar were tax collectors. Right? So social life, you see, the Tamils knew about the traditional fourfold division of society, that is Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. They knew about it. But that was not how the society in the Sangam age was divided. We have Arasar, the fourfold division of society. Arasar was the ruling class. Antanar, ministers and religious affairs. They were ministers and dealt with religious affairs. Vanigar, they were traders and Vellalas were the agriculturists. So Arasar, Antanar, Vanigar, and Vellalar. These are the fourfold classification of society. Society was not priest dominated. Definitely, you have no domination of the Brahmanas, but then slowly the Brahmanas were becoming more and more assertive and popular amongst the society. Civil and military offices were held by rich farmers called villalars. So important posts in the government were held by rich farmers called villalars. Um, Untouchability and sati existed, right? And the status of women was inferior to that of men. Religion, the chief god was Muruga, Subramanya. Vishnu worship was there. Buddhism and Jainism slowly had got a footing in the Tamil country. Kings did not perform Vedic sacrifices. Cremation was popularly practiced, burning of the dead body. So that was more popular in the among the Sangam age, during the Sangam age. So depending upon the uses to which the land was put, we have Tolkapiyam, which refers to the fivefold division of land. This is called Tinai. Tinai means fivefold division of Tinai. This is how the various lands were divided. Kurunji Hills. Kurunji Hill, who is the chief god worshipped by the people of the hills, Muruga. And what was the occupation followed by the people living in the hills? Hunting and honey collection. So they are living in the hills, they worship Muruga, and they hunt and collect honey. That was the main occupation. Mullai, that is jungle. Mullai, the cattle rearing and dairy products. And the main god was Mayon or Vishnu. Marudam, cultivated plains, that is Indra. They worship Indra and they did agriculture there in the cultivated plains. Natal was the coast. They worshipped Varuna, the god of rain, and the profession was fishing and salt manufacturing. Desert, Palai. Palai was a desert. They worshipped Koravai, a form of Durga called Koravai. And robbery was the main occupation of the people living in the desert area. Right? So this is about the Sangam age. You have tremendous encouragement given to trade. The monsoon trade winds was discovered by Hippolytus. We have seen this. Romans exported spices from the port city of Muziris, Cranganore in Kerala. Black pepper was called Yavanapriya. So this was a UPSC question. Favorite spice of the foreigners was pepper, black pepper, called Yavanapriya. That is like Yavana means foreigner, Priya is favorite. Puhar or Kavadipattanam, this was the most frequented coast by the Roman ships. Arukmedu had a Roman factory. It was called Poduka near Pondicherry. Arukmedu was called Poduka near Pondicherry. So this is all factual information. Pooja, yeah, this is factual information, Pooja. Okay, I'll give you a break. Just hold on. So here I've given you an overview of this topic, right? So this is what it is. So we'll come back here. Let us look at the questions. The term Yavana Priya. So where have you gone wrong? And where is there any confusion, Pooja? Is there any confusion, Pooja? Okay, Shilpa. Yeah, it's mostly factual. That's why I have gone a little fast. You go through the PPTs. If you have any doubts, you mail me or you ask me next class. I'll clarify the doubts. Okay, Pooja. It's difficult. First time it is difficult. Second and third time revision, it becomes easier. You read the textbook. You first go through the PPTs, then you read the textbook. Then it becomes easier. The term Yavana Priya mentioned in ancient Sanskrit text denoted what? Pepper. You can see this answer we just now discussed. Yavana Priya, favorite amongst the foreigners. Then, which one of the following was a corporation of merchants in ancient India? The answer is Manigrama. The Chaturvedi Mangalam is nothing but the Agrahara or Brahmadeya village, which was dedicated to Brahmanas who are well versed in the four Vedas. Chatur is four, Veda is. So Agrahara or Brahmadeya. That is also called Chaturvedi Mangalam. Brahmins well versed in the four Vedas were given certain villages. They are called Agrahara or Brahmadeya or Chaturvedi Mangalam. Parishad was a small body, a small group of people whom the king consulted. Okay, so that was not a corporation of merchants. Parishad was a small group of people with whom the king consulted on basically with respect to religious affairs. Ashtadigajas were the people who were advisors who were in the court of Krishnadevaraya, Ashtadigajas, the 8 eminent Telugu luminaries, Alasani Peddanna, Madaya Gari Mallanna, Durjati, Pingali, Surana, etc. So this is nothing to do with corporation of merchants. The answer is Manigrama. Manigrama, when you do the wide reading of ancient India, when you read one textbook, you'll be able to answer all these questions. Okay. Suman, a lot of facts are there. So whatever is important, I have given you in the PPT. Remember at least those things. Okay, Suman, remember those things, and then you revise once or twice. You revise. So first time you go through it as a newspaper, as a casual reading, you go through. Second time, after some, after one day, you come back and read it. 1 or 2 days, you come back and read it again. Then things become much more easier for you. Don't try to absorb at one shot. Right? Okay. Then many of the Greeks, Kushans and Shakas embraced Buddhism rather than Hinduism because of what? So they embraced Buddhism rather than Hinduism because Buddhism provided greater, easier access to Indian society. Buddhism was in the ascendant at that time? No. They had renounced the policy of war and violence? No. Caste-ridden Hinduism did not attract them? No. The answer is Buddhism provided easier access to Indian society. You see, Buddha had opened the doors of his religion to everybody, including Shudras and women. If you remember Vedic religion, Shudras and women, you remember the concept of Dvijas. So, Shudras could not wear the sacred thread, neither could the women. So they were denied the right to wear sacred thread. Whereas Buddha, so therefore, when they were denied the right to wear sacred thread, automatically they cannot achieve moksha, salvation. So therefore, they are called ekajas, women and shudras. Whereas Buddha had opened the doors of his sangha to everybody, including shudras and women, and he told them, irrespective of race or sex or varna, if you follow my Ashtangika Marga, the Eightfold Path, you will get Nirvana. So therefore, the foreigners uh, decided to follow Buddhism because it provided easier access to Indian society. Did you understand? Hello, all of you. Can I move on? Did you understand that part? Okay. What is the correct chronological order in which the following appeared in India? So try to answer. See, the answer is there on the PPT, no doubt. But then let us try to answer this question. Gold coins, punch marks, silver coins, iron plow, urban culture. Now, who introduced gold coins? Who introduced gold coins? Greeks, Indo-Greeks. Very good, Indo-Greeks. Then punch mark silver coins come when? Punch mark silver coins. Puja, Himali, Drishti, Jia, Nikhil, Mahajanapadas. Very good. So 6th century BC. 6th century BC, we have punch mark silver coins. Iron plow comes where? Jia, Nikhil, iron plow, Himali, Suman. Iron plow 1000 BC. Later Vedic period, right? Later Vedic period, iron plow, 1000 BC. Okay, Aryans came to have the knowledge of iron. So they began to burn patches of the forest and cleared the forest with the help of iron axes, iron weapons, iron implements. Urban culture. Urban culture, you might say Harappan civilization. Harappan civilization is first urbanization. But the question is, what is the official answer? The official answer is B, given by the UPSC, and very rightfully so. You look here. Did the urban culture of the Harappans last? Did the urban culture of the Harappans last? Did it survive? No. The answer is no. For various reasons, the Harappans abandoned their cities and went away. And after the decline of the Harappans, we did not have cities for 1,000 years. And again, after a period of 1,000 years, in the 6th century BC, we have second urbanization happening, right? And from then onwards, we never had any failure of cities. Cities did not collapse like the way the Harappan cities collapsed. So the answer is, first comes iron plow, okay, 3. Okay, this is number 1. Iron, then urban culture is 2. Punch marked silver coins is 3, and gold coins is 4. So the answer is B, not D. So that is the reason. Did you get me, Drishti? Reason I have given you just now. Drishti, are you there with me? Okay. So that is the official answer. Then the Indo-Greek kingdom set up in North Afghanistan in the beginning of the 2nd century BC was Bactria, isn't it? Bactria. Indo-Greek kingdom set up in North Afghanistan. Northern Afghanistan was called Bactria. The practice of military governorships was first introduced in India by the Greeks, strategos. Military governorships were called strategos by the Greeks. We have seen this. Who among the following presided over the Buddhist council held during the reign of Kanishka at Kashmir? So who was it? Vasumitra. Who was the vice president? Ashwagosha. Vasumitra, and vice president was Ashwagosha. Consider the following statements. This was a UPSC question. The last Mauryan ruler, Brihadratha, was assassinated by his commander-in-chief, Pushyamitra Sunga. Yes or no? First statement? Yes. Very good. Jia, Shilpa, Satyanarayana, Suman. Second statement. The last Sunga king, Devabhuti, was assassinated by his Brahmana minister, Vasudeva Kanva, who usurped the throne. Yes or no? Yes. 1 and 2 are yes. Very good. The last ruler of the Kanva dynasty was deposed by the Andhras. The last ruler of the Kanva dynasty was Susarma. He was deposed by Shatakarni II of the Andhras. That is also right. So how many statements are correct? All are correct. 1, 2, and 3 are correct. So did you understand? Suddenly, whatever we had done, you are wondering what to remember, what not to remember. UPSC has asked a question. So remember the founder and the last ruler, right? Or you can remember the important rulers. So last Mauryan king Brihadatta was assassinated by his commander Pushyamitra Sunga. Last Sunga king Devabhuti was assassinated by his Brahmana minister Vasudeva Kanva. And the last ruler was assassinated by the Andhras. So they were asked like that. With reference to the invaders in ancient India, which one of the following is the correct chronological order? UPSC question this is. So first to come by the Greeks, Bactrian Greeks. Secondly, the Shakas or Scythians. Thirdly, the Parthians. And the fourthly, the Kushanas. So this is the answer. Greeks, Shakas, Kushans. A. Okay. Greeks, Shakas, chronological sequence. Greeks, Shakas, Parthians, Kushans. Then 2012 question. With reference to the guilds of ancient India that played a very important role in the country's economy, which of the following statements are correct? Every guild was registered with the central authority of the state, and the king was the chief administrative authority on them. Yes or no? Yes. No, it is true, Drishti. Jia, that is true. Every guild was registered with the central authority, and the king was the chief administrative authority on them. That is true. The wages, rules of work, standards, and prices were fixed by the guild. That is right. The guild had judicial power over its own members. Yes. All these statements are correct. They're asking what? Select the correct answer using the codes below. 1, 2, 3 are correct. All the 3 are correct. So they could punish the members if they violated the Shreni Dharma, right? Wages, rules of work, standards, and prices were fixed by the guild. That is also there. And the highest administrative authority over them was the king. That is also true. Which one of the following books of ancient India has the love story of the son of the founder of the Sunga dynasty? Who was the founder of the Sunga dynasty? Who was the founder? Pushi. Okay, Suman says Pushyamitra Sunga. Okay, Pushyamitra. You did not have time, I understand, Suman. And who was the founder? Who was the son of Pushi? Agnimitra. Very good. So answer is Malavika Agnimitra. Malavika Agnimitra. Then which one of the following was a very important seaport in the Kakatiya kingdom? 2017 question. Motupalli. So Marco Polo visited India through Motupalli. So B is the answer. Which of the following Chola kings was the first to conquer Sri Lanka? Answer is Ilara. Ilara was the first to conquer Sri Lanka. Yes, it's a poem. Correct. Malavika Agnimitra is a poem. Then, in the context of Indian history, Muziris was what? Muziris was a port city. Musiri was a port city. Kranganur, Musiri. So explanation is given here. This is the end of this chapter. So I have, we can start, take a 20 minutes break. Is it fine? Yeah, on a regular basis. Jia, I said on a regular basis, the king would not interfere. Unless there was differences amongst the members of the guild, then they will go to the king. So he was the highest authority over the guild. On a regular basis, he will not interfere. Only when his counsel was necessary. They were not able to reach a consensus and they are fighting amongst themselves. Then they'll go to the king. So king was highest authority. 30 minutes, okay, take your 30 minutes. We'll meet at 6:10. It is now 5:40. We'll meet at 6:10. Is it fine? 6:10. And we go until 8 o'clock. 6:10, half an hour break. Carry on, 6:10. And we'll go to Gupta's now. Gupta's interesting topic. We'll finish Gupta's. It's an important topic. Then we'll come to post-Gupta. If time permits, we'll do post-Gupta also. We'll not be able to finish though. We'll first finish Gupta's after the break. Okay, so half an hour break. Carry on.